primary ignition.
This is Star Wars.
Look out!
Core. World. News.
You may fire when ready.
From the bright center of the galaxy, I'm Grex Kondak, and you're listening to Core World News, your whole net news service providing in-depth coverage of all the latest stories from every sector of the galaxy. Welcome to our special review of Star Wars Visions Season 2. Now I have your hosts, Ben, Grant, and Adam, to discuss Star Wars Visions.
All right, thank you very much, Grex. So happy to have you stop by and deliver, that gold every week as you do. This week, really exciting week. A whole new animated Star Wars content. Bang, just like dropped. 9 episodes, have some. Couldn't be more happy about that. So today we're going to talk about all those episodes, just discuss what we saw, what happened, their implications. So this will probably be a 15-hour podcast. Yeah. And then, we're going to throw up a spoiler wall and talk a little more about Jedi Survivor. But just want to welcome you to a excellent Revenge of the Fifth podcast here. We didn't talk to you on May the 4th.
Thank you for working that in.
But definitely, at least we made it for Revenge of the 5th. And we're here, and we're stoked about what we're doing, man. I hope you all had a good day yesterday. I hope you all celebrated. Did either of you do anything special for May the 4th?
No, but I'm glad we're celebrating on the 5th. It's very, very Han Solo.
Yeah, I'm really glad. I sat down, I watched the animated show, I took notes and notes and notes, and I am ready to talk 15 hours on Young Jedi Adventures. That's right?
Oh my gosh, I didn't watch Young Jedi Adventures. Did you watch?
Wait.
I believe I watched the first episode.
Wait, was there another animated show that dropped yesterday?
Good point, Adam. Good point, man.
No, but also I did also watch all that because what I did for May the 4th was my daughter was home for the day, and so she's a preschool age. So I watched.
Good news.
On May the 4th, I watched Young Jedi Adventures. If you would like a full review,
I do want a full review. Why don't we start there, actually, Adam? We're talking about it.
I do want to know all about the Ewok Jedi.
So this is gonna be a real quick review. It is exactly what it is and what it needs to be, which is a preschool era show. If you don't have kids, do not bother watching this show. It is not for you, and that's fine. This is the thing I will say that I love the most about it. It is introducing my child to all of the Star Wars music and sounds that made me a Star Wars fan, because it is like every other incessant preschool age show that I really cannot watch unless it's Bluey. By the way, if Bluey, just watch Bluey.
Come on.
Also, if you don't have kids, Ben, you should be watching Bluey. It is brilliant, right? And it's not even me being British. It's actually an excellent Australian show. It's freaking hilarious. But anyway, the show is fine. It's great. It's got lessons. It's got whatever. It's there's some good animation, some whatever. But it's a preschool age show. But if you like Star Wars, you could do a lot worse for watching this with a child. There's enough good lessons there. It's great for kids to watch. But I will say this, it just has all of the sounds. And hearing TIE fighters screeching overhead, and hearing lightsabers, and hearing they bring in John Williams' score. And so you hear Yoda's theme creep in, and you hear these things. So nice. That was great for me, right? To just watch my daughter get excited about the sounds of Star Wars is really what I was excited about.
I can imagine that's enough, right? That's enough to get you excited.
Awesome.
Or as a young person. I mean, I found Star Wars when I was 4. So it was I'm pretty sure it was the sound effects and the, definitely the music, the sound effects, and the crazy images that drew me in. And then,
I remember watching the first episode. It's pretty action packed. It's a High Republic era.
It is.
If I'm not wrong. And then a Vanestra Rowe is in the show, or Yoda.
Yoda's in it. Yoda's the only kind of main canon who bring these 3 kids, these 3 Jedi younglings to a different planet for training, basically. And so they get into hijinks there. And I mean, you get speeder chase episodes,
but they wield lightsabers.
They do.
And stuff like that?
It's a little odd. They're also a little OP'd for younglings. But I'm trying to let that go. But
well, actually.
I mean, Mando brings Grogu into battle. So
true.
at
It's
point,
true. It's just like,
anything
but there's some like, what I like about it is each one has different connections to the Force. One's really good with lightsaber. One's really good at taming animals. The other one's like really good at like.
right.
So it's kind of
Nice.
fun that they each have their abilities. It's good Star Wars. It is weird to watch like a kid with a lightsaber fighting another child who is a pirate, like a child pirate. It's odd seeing like the archetypes of Star Wars on like preschool era kids. Or I'm like, there's like a thing where he has like clearly like a vibro sword that he's fighting with a lightsaber, and I'm like, this is weird. And I guess they're trying to say like it's a vibro staff, and his lightsaber is probably just like a training lightsaber, so it doesn't do damage. But like, it's weird sometimes to watch kids flipping around and
Yeah.
fighting each other.
The animation looks.
The animation's
great,
it's
the
good.
animation,
Yeah, it's solid. Yeah.
flawless.
Right on, man. Well, and that ends our coverage of Young Jedi
Yeah.
Adventures.
I would love a show where it's like Luke's temple and it's Charlie Brown and he's just the teacher. It's just his feet.
Yeah.
Done. I think it's
Womp,
all,
womp,
that's a
womp,
series.
womp, womp,
And he's just
womp.
saying
Yeah.
things. No, I think he actually says coherent
all right.
things.
They need to bring back a Resistance level animated series, right? Like this is perfect preschool, but they need that like young adult level stuff, which they just don't have. Which Resistance was the one that did that.
Yeah, I mean, they're a little younger than Young Adult for Resistance. I still enjoyed that show, but I tried to rewatch it, and I was like, nope, can't do it.
No, one time.
But
is good,
the stories they cover are great.
Really, I love Resistance, guys.
I liked
Come
it a
on.
lot.
No,
I
I liked it the first time, but it's just not worth a repeat watch for me. I put it on for my dog when I'm out of the house.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'll get to it in another few
I feel like
years.
I could live on that space.
Oh
station.
yeah, no, I everything. It's a beautiful show, and actually, I love the stories and I love the characters. It's great. It's a great show. But this isn't. We're not talking about a resistance today.
No,
That's right. Can't do that. Talking about another fantastic animated.
Let's go. So obviously, Visions came out today. A bunch of new animation studios from all over the world. I felt like Volume 1 that we saw a year ago. It was a lot of Japanese animation studios, but this one there's a lot of different ones from other parts of the world, and so I thought that was fantastic. I'd say let's last time when we covered this, we sort of picked our favorites and then sort of hopped around, but I kind of want to go straight through this thing because I think they're all really interesting, all 9 episodes.
Agreed.
And they're all valid. I want to talk about all of them. So why don't we start with the first one, which is the Sith, which is El Guidi Studios out of Spain. It is a fantastic, beautiful episode. So, like the first one, they're going to try and do all things with the first episode. But gosh, I mean, do you want me to give you a plot summary? I've got a plot summary right here. Do you want me to just read it?
Sure.
Oh, that'd be great.
Lola, a former Sith apprentice, lives in solitude with her droid, trying to finish a painting, but cannot seem to wipe away the darker smudges that keep forming. She is suddenly visited by her former Sith master, who has tried to find her for quite some time, and chases her down and is forced to fight him while he insists that she is to become the new Sith master. Lola comes to the realization that she needs to accept both light and dark halves and promptly defeats the Sith Master when her double-edged lightsaber produces a yellow and red blade. Now in control of her own destiny, Lola finishes the painting and finally leaves the planet.
And Grievous Bike.
Ooh, Grievous Bike.
Grievous,
Yeah, I mean, I think just like from, I don't know, I'm not an artist. I'm not an art critic. But like the most artistic one, like just the most vividly artistic animation of the series.
Or just stark.
Yeah.
Sort of blacks and whites, contrasty, stunning, jagged, beautifully like designed figures and figure drawing and action. Like it was beautiful. Like the episode was stunning, honestly. Just visually, I think it stood out. I think it curated. I think it was a smart decision to put that one right in the beginning because I was just immediately bought in on like just the artistry of this entire series.
Yeah,
so,
same.
Yeah,
it was one of those ones where I just every time I have to, not every time, but I had to like refamiliarize myself with the Visions because I watched the first one the one time. I loved it, but I just kind of like I'm like okay, I remember, but like just settling into this one, like oh yeah, these are amazing. I forgot how good Visions is. And this is just like, all right, now I'm stoked to watch another 8 15-minute episodes, right? Like these
totally like
I thought it was also an original take
Yep.
too, because it's like a Jedi or it's a Sith character that is sort of
who left
now turning light side. It basically sort of like departing the dark side. Thought that was a smart decision. I thought that was a fresh.
Yeah, I feel like a
view.
lot of these stories we've talked about here, and as stories that we'd like, that would be a great nuanced version of this, like a great story to tell. And these studios didn't miss a beat. Like they took advantage of that.
Yeah.
Of these like really just like cool instances that like I feel like haven't been grasped upon by the major market releases. And this is a perfect one where it's just like, I mean, and it takes a while to evolve and to understand what Lola's going through. It's very surreal where like she can paint with the Force, and it's just like these like Force explosions in her mind, and like she, and all the bright colored paint keeps turning black. Like it's just
the sort of like visual metaphor, right? Like of
inner
her
turmoil,
fighting, or basically fighting back the darkness, and then eventually giving into the darkness, and the darkness spreading, and like I thought that was just so interesting, and I'd love to see that in live action, be it like raw energy elements. Like I don't know, I would love to see more of that.
And we could
in live action
talk about this more as we go through, but I feel like almost all of these, I could see it being extended into a movie, series, animated or live action. Like there's so many of these I'm like, I did not want it to end, or I want to know where it goes next, or I want it to expand. The other thing I really appreciate about this episode is like it expands on kind of an old, like, this idea which was not developed around Star Wars, but is really connected to it because of the idea of light side of the Force, dark side of the Force, right? And the idea that you hear sometimes is that like white is what, like color wise, white is white. White is the absence of any color, basically, right? Yeah. And if you add any amount of black to that white, no matter how much you do, you can never get rid of that white, get rid of that darkness, right? There's always at least a bit of it in there, right? And so it was kind of interesting to see that told, again, through a story about someone who paints, right? So it's like this weird thing of like taking the metaphor, making it literal, and then also making it still metaphorical at the same time. Mm-hmm. It's really fascinating. It's a really interesting idea.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Droid, all-time droid.
There. Yeah, what was I think it was D2 was his name. And he's great. He's just like an orb. I loved watching him roll around. Like he's not a perfect sphere, but he still rolls around as like his fastest mode of transportation, and just sort of clunks around like her castle. She has this beautiful castle on probably a fractured moon, which we'll talk about later. But like just like a really amazing space, like starscape, moon planet that they're on. I love her abode. I mean, everything's great about it. I mean, I think we should probably just get to the crux of it, which is just sort of, I mean, she's a Jedi who was courted and trained by the Sith, right? And she's tried to reject the dark. She ran away and was just like, I'm not trying to do that. And to me, and I want to hear your interpretations, but to me, it was that she didn't want any darkness in her life at all. She kept trying to tamp down all of the darkness and all the light. And the evolution and the way that she finally defeated her Sith master was to be like, no, every person is both light and dark. They have darkness in their lives. It's like, how do you treat that darkness? Like, how do you, if you don't understand that there's darkness within you, you can't, really accept your full truth.
100%. That was 100% the theme. I think at the end was like, sometimes you do have to harness the dark, but you just have to understand that was brought upon you by someone who was trying to disrupt your balance. You know,
and it's the idea of because we're not dealing with someone who is a Jedi, always remained a Jedi, and was tempted by the dark side. This is someone who was intimately connected to the dark side and stepped away from it, right? And so part of that story is this is a part of who I am, and my back, and I can deny it all I want, but I was a Sith. I did harm, and I need to accept that and take that with me forward to try to do good. Right. And so I think it leads to that last moment. I can't remember the last line, but it was something like, "I am the master now." Is that what she says?
Yeah,
I think.
Yes.
And that it's so important storytelling, because that line could be chilling. But it was triumphant. I felt it was triumphant. I heard that line. And it didn't make me scared for her, right? It didn't make me think she was going to go off and commit atrocities, right?
instantly compelling. So when you guys said, it'd be great to see it as like a longer series or film or like animated feature, I totally agree. I thought that was super compelling. Like just that storyline, that theme.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I mean, I don't know if she she embraced the dark. I don't know if she actually used the dark side at the end, but she acknowledged the fact that it was a part of her life, was the way I sort of, looked at that. But I feel like it's a much more human tale. No one just starts out, well, all right, we all start out perfectly good, right? Mm-hmm. Infallible, and then we learn language, and then we're terrible. But we, I just snuck that in there. I'll let you all chew on that in your subconscious for a while. But it's much more human tale to be like, I've done bad things, and it's just like, but acknowledging they were bad things and that's a part of your life and going forward. It just seems like a much more human tale for that people have experienced. Beautiful. What a wonderful, lovely story. Do you want to move on here? Because I have a feeling if we're not careful,
this is going to be a 17-hour.
Like I could talk about the art style of this one for.
It'll be Revenge of the Sixth soon.
Right. Especially because I really want to talk about the next one. I mean, I really want to talk about all these, but can we talk about the next one?
Yeah, absolutely. So the next one is Screecher's Reach, which is sorry, I had the. Let me. Sorry, I have a system here. It's just I'm just failing terribly at it. All right, it is a Cartoon Saloon out of Ireland, clearly out of Ireland because all the characters have Irish accents. Is the animation, the production company, which is cool. Nice to get an Irish company in there. This is a little different. So the official description: a young girl seeking reprieve from her days in a rural workhouse discovers a legendary haunted cave with her friends. The cave's dark pull will change the trajectory of her life forever.
Yeah. Before we dive into it, let me just shout out Cartoon Saloon. They did this, they referred to, I think it's the Irish folklore trilogy, but it's 3 movies: The Secret of Kells, Song of the Sea, and then also Wolfwalkers. And you haven't seen Wolfwalkers, do yourself a favor. Go home and watch Wolfwalkers. It's amazing. It should have won the best animated picture at the Oscars. I think it was last year. I mean, there's plenty of other great animated films. So it's so good, and it's a wonderful film. And Secret of Kells is also really good. Anyway,
is there a video on demand service that we should target for that?
Sure. It was on Netflix.
Yeah, I feel like Netflix has been hoarding anime.
Yeah, it was on Netflix when it was up for Best Picture. I think they had it. So
okay,
I will. Let's keep walking. Let's keep talking, and I will.
This story was just so intense. I wasn't ready for the intensity.
Yeah, it
and just the emotion
knocked me for a loop.
I thought this was just, it was really powerful at conveying emotion, and the young girl who meets this like just eerie like Sith master. Like that was so scary.
And I love they set the stage, and it's like a dreary Dickensian like workhouse. So they set the stage early, and it doesn't take long to realize, oh yeah, these people are just essentially slave labor, and young people and child labor and all that thing. But the heroine has a trinket that is motivating her on, and there's there's an area she feels drawn to, which is this cave and Screecher's Reach. And but
is the ending not the most haunting ending you've ever seen?
Yes. Yeah.
Your entire life watching animated.
It is. It's one of these things where I think the runtime was like 14 minutes, and it felt like an eternity.
Yeah.
Like it was the second one I watched, and I'm like I was switching back between doing this. I would watch an episode and then do some work, and I would time out things to be like, okay, well, if I watch for 15 minutes, I'll do 15 minutes of work. It's the whole thing that Adam does. That's annoying. But I set my stopwatch so I could do it. And I wasn't paying attention, and I stopped. I was just like, the end stopped. And I'm like, okay, well, I got like 30 minutes of work to do, because that was like a 30-minute episode, right? I looked down, it was like 14 minutes, and I'm like, whoa. And that's not a bad thing. It just is so much happens in such a little time, and there's character development and relationship development. It's really wonderful. Wolfwalkers, by the way, is on Apple TV or Apple Plus or Apple TV.
Okay, I'll watch it.
Definitely worth a watch if you have it. So it's just one of those things where I have a Star Wars story surrounding kids, and kids that are orphaned. Like the thing that I think we'll come back around to is like
Oh, we'll get back to
all
that.
yeah. I mean, all of these understand as we've called it the pillars of Star Wars, but reinvents it, right? And this just felt like pure unadulterated Star Wars to me when I was watching this show.
Yeah. Is the orphan pillar, is that connected to the found family pillar, or is that just
I think so. I think
pillar?
it is. I think every orphan I think it starts with orphan, ends with found family, right? I think it's all under one.
Where do you put all that part of it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll have to go back and have a discussion.
Yeah, we didn't make an orphan pillar, but like they're really like. I mean, you can't deny the obvious here. It's like all of the major characters are orphans. So
yeah,
it's interesting. That's an interesting call, and I'm not sure exactly why that is. But yeah, I mean, amazing. I loved how they developed all the 4 protagonists as we're going towards the main place, and they have motivations and they have their own personalities, and you're attached to all of them, and you feel for the main character. And then actually, did any of you feel for the first antagonist as well? The actual like ghost of the cave.
The ghost, yeah.
It was a lot of emotion in that being.
Seemed not, it's that classic story of just seemed of suffering, right? It was just a ghost made out of suffering.
Yeah. Just pure suffering. It was in there just screeching and terrible. And I was sort of wondering, there's a scene, so, we go through the episode, they get separated. Sorry, I did this to get her name. Her name's Doll, of course. Doll is our heroine,
Doll,
right?
Yeah.
And she, she's like, no, I'm staying. And I thought she was going, probably because we've been watching Survivor and we're playing Survivor rather. Like, oh, she wants to heal this ghost. And it's like, no. And you see like the ghost is trapped under a boulder screaming, and it's like hard not to feel for her. And then Doll, puts her down like Old Yeller.
But that's the thing. Like, it felt like an act of mercy, right? Like, it felt like putting an animal down that was suffering. It was not going to get better. Like, I had that same moment of just like, because it does this thing where it cuts away, right? And you know what's coming. And I was expecting to hear that sound and feel devastated by it. And I felt this weird moment of just like peace. I can't even explain where I felt like, like that thing is free now. Right, it's suffering is done.
I felt like Revenge of the Sith regret, like post Anakin, like sort of like what have you done? Like you're not going to be able to take that back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I love that. I love that it's kind of open to interpretation, which is perfect. My question or kind of comment is, it ends and we have Doll going one way. And is it Bathon and the other kids going the other way?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, they're left behind. Bathon, and Quinn and Kina.
Yes. Right. And I'm just like, it was such a great story because you could tell it's a great story with great character development. Because I'm like, if I had to choose which story do I want to follow, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I want both their stories. Right. I want to know what happens to the kids that stay there, and I want to know what happens to Doll.
Yeah. And this is.
Doesn't she go away on the ship?
Yeah.
Like, isn't that?
Well, what's her journey after that?
Yeah. And I mean,
it's because she looks back.
Yeah.
She looks back and she's terrified. Like she's
and she should be. Stricken. Grief stricken and drawn away. I mean, that's why all of these actually daisy chain together in a beautiful way. This is a beautiful companion piece for the first episode, the Sith, because you see someone that's sort of come out the other side of that. Like that easily could have been the first heroine's origin story. I mean, it's obviously a different character, but it's like somehow she ended up with a Sith and, but then came back to the light. I mean, you have to believe that Doll's a good person, but she's so persecuted, literally anything is better than her current state. So that's someone primed to be seduced by the dark side. So I just thought it was a good duology because you sort of see how someone ends up where the first character would have been. And
it also mirrors Anakin's journey, right? Because you think about it, like Anakin leaves his mother in slavery, basically, right?
True.
Or I guess,
True.
and same thing. Doll leaves her friends in indentured servitude or slavery, right?
Yeah.
And it's tough. Yeah.
Wow, actually, I didn't make that connection. That's even more depressing.
I didn't either until right the second.
Okay.
Like it was one of those things I've been ruminating on. It just kind of popped in my head as you were talking, and it made me think of it.
Yeah. All right, shall we move?
Couldn't have done it without you.
Right. Do you want to move on to the next episode, episode 3?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So this is In the Stars. The production company is Punk Robot out of Chile. Amazing. I think this is the first one I think I started gushing tears, and I think I cried through the rest of them.
Yeah.
But quick description.
Yeah.
Two sisters, the last of their kind, who live in hiding on their ravaged land, squabble about how to survive with the Empire encroaching. On a water run, the sisters must fight back when they are discovered.
Yeah. First,
Just the opening of this
Yeah.
one, where you see like the boat in the water.
Yeah, it's so good. And I guess my question is, I didn't go back and look at the first thing of Visions. Is this the first stop motion, or was there a stop motion?
I think this is
in
the
season
first.
1?
Yeah, I don't.
I think
there's
so,
any
right?
Stop motion in the first.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a couple in this one. We'll talk about the next one. But yeah, I love that, and it's funny. My my wife, who teaches high school, is teaching a film class, and she's teaching them special effects. So she did like a week on like practical special effects. So she just did some forced perspective with them this week, which they all blew their mind.
Nice.
And they're doing stop motion next week.
Ooh, fun.
And I'm like, oh boy, you want to show them some examples? I got 2 really good examples you can show them, and she's very excited. She's going to show them this short and the next short next week.
Oh man,
To show them what you can do with stop motion.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, this animation was gorgeous. It almost looked stop motion blend with sort of like background assets. Background.
Yeah, it was like it felt like mixed media, and
yeah, for sure.
And it was sort of like multimedia too, because they would tell the stories with a stone, and then like special potion,
cool.
and so they would tell like backstory with these like essentially like cave painting sort of styled glyphs, and which is it was like its own animation within an animation, which I thought was amazing and fun.
And that's the design of like the Imperial facility and like the smokestacks and the vents, and it was just really, I thought, imposing.
Yeah.
And
I mean, there's a couple.
And
please, sorry, Adam.
Go for it.
Please.
No, you go, Ben.
I'm getting 10,000 or 30,000 feet here, but like there's like a couple overarching themes that I feel go through all of this. It's sort of like the dangers and the demons within capitalism and the demons within authoritarianism are like kind of come over and over again, and like these are very real Earth problems, and but I loved how they used the Star Wars Galaxy Far Far Away to exemplify this. I think it's these should be beacons, like North Stars for future storytellers, to be like, yeah, this is what and I mean they do talk about ravaged worlds and imperialism and industrial complex and that sort of stuff a lot, but this one really, I thought it was just a great story.
I think you really hit on something there, Ben, because I realized I feel like these, because they are removed from canon, though I'll argue that all of these could fall in within canon. I will argue that they can. Who cares? But I mean, I think they
totally
could. But because they're not constrained by that, they're able to tell clear and cleaner metaphors and parallels to our world. And we'll talk about when we get to the pit. Oh boy. We'll get there. But like this one too just felt like a clear and cleaner metaphor that I haven't seen in Star Wars in a long time. And that's not Star Wars' fault, because Star Wars now become less about the metaphor and more about the world they've created. Right. So you have to kind of continue that world, and you lose the metaphors because of that, which is fine. That's storytelling. It happens. But these are just so
stark,
laser focused about telling something.
Yeah. They also get quite abstract and get to be expressionistic, and sort of like the Empire, like how it looks, why it's so threatening is because they really stress that industrialized, mechanized aspect of it, and just how it's just this technological monstrosity, basically, in a lot of these shorts.
This episode had a moment that like almost paralleled Rey grabbing the lightsaber moment.
Yes.
And it was like, so at the very end when the two sisters stand up against the walker, which is just like, come on, to set that up and be able to pay that off in 14 minutes is beautiful. And then to have them not going for the walker with their force abilities, but going for the water. I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Like when that started, like it literally like blew my mind
That's
because
so
I
cool.
did not anticipate that's what they were going for, and I just was like, I almost stood up and started cheering.
It was
Like
very
it was
cool.
Right.
just amazing.
Which is like that's
Yeah.
kind of what I want in my Star Wars is like sort of
Right.
against all
Yeah.
odds. Like I want it to pay off, and it might be cheesy and it might not be great filmmaking. I don't know, or storytelling, but
it
like
is.
that's the feeling that we got from A New Hope. Like this is what hooked all of us into this thing, and I think there's no, they were able to, dig out that emotion through a different story in the same galaxy, and I think that is what they should be gunning for. I think that's I want to leave the theater elated and happy, and to have it pay off.
I feel like
It's
catching
fun.
someone with the Force should be a pillar. Should be in every Star Wars
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Someone should just tap into their Force powers, their unknown Force powers, and catch someone in every story. It should just be essential.
Yeah, we got it in Obi-Wan too, right?
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
It works every time.
That's right.
Yeah, and you know what? I
That's right.
didn't see it coming. Like when it happened, I was just like, "Oh, she's gonna die. Are you gonna die?" And then it was like, "Oh wait, no one's gonna die." Yeah,
No, and that's the thing about these shorts too, where because they are not connected to a larger world, every time something like that happens, I'm like, oh boy, are they gonna just kill that person?
Yeah.
Because it's just a single standalone
Right.
story, and you can absolutely do that. And everything felt really dire when it was happening,
Yeah.
and just oh man.
I want to talk about it being separate because I feel like that's kind of the way I'd love Star Wars to go. Yes, I love how organized it is under Kathleen Kennedy and everything's connected and touches each other and has like whatever. But it should, if everything is constantly related to something else, it feels bound a little bit to me. Having you can tell stories in this galaxy and not tell you when it is. Like on its face, maybe you discover later when it is, but it can be so far removed that it doesn't relate to anything. It's just a story, and it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to have tentacles that link into other parts of the story. Like we know the galaxy, we know the ground rules, right, of what the galaxy is. It's participating, and I mean, I would love a live action series where they don't tell you, and it's just happening. And it's like if you see stormtroopers, well, you can guess about what time period that is.
Yep.
If you see something else, you can guess what time period that is. But not really defining a story based on what timeline it where it gets inserted.
I want to have a conversation about this after the show. Just about
You don't want to be on
possible
record?
timelines and of how a story far removed from the Skywalker saga or the canon, the trajectory of the canon, how that can be done, and how could that be done in the future in a story that takes
if
place
Visions has proven
in the far-flung
anything
future.
over 18 episodes is yes, it can be done. These
can
are
be done.
compelling, wonderful, amazing stories that make me feel Star Wars like I haven't felt Star Wars in a long time. And again, I love Star Wars and new Star Wars because it's divorced, because it's not part of the Skywalker saga. And I love the Skywalker saga.
All right, if there was a story that was a far-flung future story for just the Star Wars movie, and then in the second movie you learn that someone's a Skywalker, you wouldn't be pumped about that?
But maybe
You wouldn't be
well,
absolutely
we're-
revving your fist in the
Well,
theater.
I would be because
Yes, and then I would
the
feel-
first
Because of the
one,
built-in-
because the first
build the
one
narrative.
was like not era specific, and like that's part of the mystery box, right? Is when is it?
Yeah.
And I think that's a perfectly reasonable question to leave hanging. It's like we're not going to define when this is, and our next 3 movies have all been defined about when they are, but but I don't think that needs to be the standard going forward.
That's what I do love about these shorts,
So-
is they do their own thing.
Spoiler alert to Battlestar Galactica, which is like now, I think it ended 10 years ago. Everyone okay? I'm going to spoil. Spoiler
I'm
alert.
okay, yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
But
go
like
for it.
that's a great example of we know we have humans. We know we have humans in the world talking about AI, talking about all this stuff, and that the last episode they end up on Earth. Again, giant spoilers alert. Earth, pre-humans. And that's a great moment of just you don't know when all this stuff's taking the point, but it's such a great payoff of just like it doesn't matter because I just care about these characters. But it's just a nice little thing of like, oh boy, that just blew my mind extra on top of everything else.
I actually treat these stories as canon material.
I do
and
too.
I think about them
yeah,
constantly.
I do too.
think about what these planets are, what
Nothing
these locations
violates
are,
canon.
because I'm like, how could there be an Easter egg in the future that maybe like nods to these? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm always thinking about how everything can be woven together in one tapestry. I'm never thinking about how this series is separate from the films or separate
It
from
argues
whatever else is
for
happening.
a loose canon approach to Star Wars, which sounds weird, which sounds bad, loose canon.
Well,
but you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it's
but
not,
Oh, I
like,
love that idea. I actually think that's like a healthy approach.
Yeah. I feel that way too. I think, maybe it's a thing where Lucasfilm starts smudging the barrier between canon and legends.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's maybe it falls on that side, and maybe, it's like, what is myth and what is legend? That makes sense for Star Wars.
That's our world. That is our
Yeah.
world. The world we live in right now, the real world. We have religions based on probably myth, but who knows, right? Like, who can say?
Right. What we know is that the Skywalker saga happened, but all these other stories, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some core things, but if things get a little more mythological and legendary, especially as we're going to the beginning of the Jedi and all that, like, it doesn't need to be definitive. So yeah, I think there's room to play with there, but it's going to take nuance and creativity and fortitude. And not that I don't believe they can do it. I know they can do it, but will they do it? We'll see.
Did you hear about the Lindelof scripts? And
Oh yeah,
Ray
do you
being,
want
like,
to talk about
60 years
do you
old
want
or
to talk
something?
about that? Yeah,
Like, yeah.
Let's talk about it.
I
Tell
want
me
to
about
talk
it.
about that tonight too. Yeah. So Grant, do you want to take it? I think you and I read the same article.
I've just heard details that Ray was like an older character and he really ate Daisy Ridley, and like
they wanted a Helen Mirren-like actress to play,
which I actually agree with, and I think that.
Oh, I disagree with, but I'm fascinated.
Were they going to recast Daisy
That
Ridley?
approach is really smart if you're going to use that character, but because you can do flashbacks with Ray. What you can do
with Daisy
Ridley is just do tons of flashbacks.
You've won me back, Grant.
Awesome.
That's fine. You can do that.
Do both.
Grant, you've been talking about this for a long time. Actually, you're like, go way future.
Yeah, I know. There's so much you could do there. There's got to be another foot that drops with her being, connected to the Emperor. There has to be. I think there's. I think Finn has to have like a huge arc. Like, basically, I don't know. Like, his arc has to be massive.
I want him to be the guy.
Luke Skywalker levels. Of just heroism.
Here's and I love Damon Lindelof, and I mean, like, Watchmen. That's why I trusted it. But when I heard this news, my first reaction was, oh man, I'm glad they took him off of it. And here's why. We can come back around to it because, Grant, you won me over with the flashbacks, with the liberal use of flashbacks. But I'm kind of done with watching a Jedi past their prime doing it. I'm like, we got it. We got Obi-Wan. We got old Luke. Like give me a Jedi master in their 30s and 40s being good at their job and training young Jedi. Like, give me that.
Yeah.
And like, but I think, Grant, you got to where you get your cake and eat it too, right? Because you can get that.
But no. That's a problem in Hollywood though today, is that everyone gets their cake and wants to eat and
I mean, welcome to Marvel.
With everything they do, basically, where they're like, oh, how about this IP, and then this connects to that, and then this, and you get that, and this, and Luke comes back in Mandalorian but dies in The Last Jedi. Like they're constantly trying to get everyone to please everybody. And I think that's a huge problem, because then you don't commit to anything.
Just commit.
And there's no stakes, and I don't care about Star Wars.
True.
True.
So that was the real only leak, was just like Ray was 60. That was the only factoid that came out of that.
Yeah, and that they wanted Helen Mirren type, which I'm like, Helen Mirren, great. Get Helen Mirren to play a Jedi Master.
So they wanted a good actress. Well, shocker.
I know Helen Mirren type is just a older, amazing actress, British actress.
Right.
Which also, like, just say like Daisy Ridley plus 40 or plus 50.
I know.
But like,
I think it would be funny if they aged them up, even though that.
Yeah, I think they should just age her up, honestly.
Yeah.
Why not? Right.
Well, because it could be
then it's really
ageist.
to show your performance.
Because you're like putting like old people out of work. It's like they can act.
Well, but they de-age and I mean, they did it with Hallie Atwell in the Captain America movies, and she did a great job playing really old Peggy Carter.
Yes, I'm just saying there's old people
I know,
won't work
I know the
too.
blowback.
Yeah.
I would also argue that the older the character, usually the faster they move in Star Wars, which is wild to think about, but it's actually like facts. You look at Sidious and Yoda like fighting, like
and actually we got a little bit of that in one of these shows too.
You also get it in Young Jedi Adventures, by the way. You get Yoda flipping around and fighting a droid. Just saying.
Nice. Can we get on to the episode 4 here of Visions?
Yeah.
4 out of
In the Stars,
9.
great episode.
Yeah,
Punk
dude.
Robot crushed it.
Dude, I love this. And then when I saw the animation, I'm like, it can't be, but it is. It's Aardman animation.
It's
so,
Aardman. Yeah.
Yeah, the
No,
people.
this is I Am Your Mother. We're on.
I am your mother. So this is the animation studio that brought you Wallace and Gromit,
Yep.
which
Yes.
I adore. And
Incredible.
I mean, dude, I like if we were gonna pick favorites, like I know, like
It
I
just
know
has a lot of,
It's
of
great
jokes.
though. It's great.
like,
it's
so many.
it's because it's they're just really good at what they do, and it's like this is one I cried through most of this one. It was just so beautiful and sweet, but it was so silly, like, and it's like designed to be silly. If you've ever seen Wallace and Gromit, like it's just funny and it's like cute and it's funny.
It's Wallace and Gromit in space. Like like they didn't sacrifice any of who they are. Like it's exactly what it is. It was amazing, and it also is the biggest argument for why you can give literally anyone a Star Wars. You could give everyone's joked about the Wes Anderson Star Wars movie, but you can do it right because you did a Wallace and Gromit Star Wars, and it still felt like Star Wars.
Yeah, and all they had to do was drop Wedge Antilles into the middle of it.
Oh my goodness! That was
Also plays by Dennis
surprise.
Larson. They actually got the original Wedge. They got the original Wedge to do the voice. I was like, this is my favorite. You got my hero. You got my
so good. Yeah, it is one of the best episodes, I would say. But
it's really good.
I just love the gadgetry. I love seeing the studio. Like, obviously Wallace has a lot of gadgetry in his house when he wakes up and gets his breakfast and all this kind of stuff. So to see that team do like droids and do these like these like speed pod racing kind of scenes and like see all the sort of gadgetry going on in the scene. And I thought they did such a wonderful job with droids that I almost want to see like a droid feature from them, like a feature length Wallace and Gromit, like 3-parter like series about droids. Like I would just love that studio to jump into something droid related. But I loved the characters, that the mother and daughter characters. I even like the bad characters. Like I even I just liked all of the characters. I thought all the characters are great.
The
I think
Van
that's what the studio does
Riepels?
so well. Every character is just you're instantly like, I'm in on the Wookiees having their kid pilot thing. Like I'm in.
Yeah.
This is so great.
It was like invite your family to speed like pod racer day. Like, oh man. And it was a story that's been told before. It's almost exactly the pod racer scene from Phantom Menace. Like whatever, it doesn't matter. So fun. And I love the dynamics. I love the mom. I think the mom's name is Anna Sukaline, or is that the daughter? And then Dorada.
I didn't catch the name.
Yeah, there's Anna Sukaline and Dorada, so one's the mom and one's the daughter, the mother. But like she's like playing like speed metal in the kitchen and then fixing her droid that's like a dachshund droid / astromech.
Yeah, the droid is like a dog.
I know, but it's like a droid, and it's just like it can't even like stand. It's just falling all the time.
Yeah, like flops out into like accordion like shape.
I mean, I don't know. It was just a really sweet story, and I love how they tied it. I mean, it obviously takes place. This is like post Return of the Jedi. Wedge Antilles has a flight school, which I think is precedented in the Aftermath series. And, this like totally could have taken place. And it's just like, there's like a flight academy and, the young Twi'lek is in there. And it's just kind of great. And it's a silly story, but it was just like, it was about family, it just touched all the Star Wars buttons, and it was fun and triumphant and great.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
I guess that's all you really need to say about that. It's not a heavy hitter, but just a fun story there. Should we go to Journey to the Dark Head?
Mm-hmm.
Which is like...
That sounds like a metal album.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Studio Mir Company Limited, South Korea, which makes sense. I thought it was, after seeing the names, I was like, I'm just seeing the countries now where all of these are from. And, but yeah, I was trying to guess through like, I did watch all the credits and like saw people's names and stuff to try and see, and you can kind of figure it out. But yes.
Yeah.
So this one's South Korean. South Korea's been doing amazing things in video lately and storytelling and stuff, so no surprise that they made a really, really strong episode here.
They have a really strong just a side note, they have a really strong horror
yes
area to do. There's a great zombie movie called The Sadness. Trigger warning: there's sexual violence in it, so it's hard to watch. But if you can get past that. Also, if you can't, no worries. But if you can, it's an amazing film. But that part is rough. Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Okay.
Just started recommending that. And I'm like, I should probably give a trigger warning.
Yeah.
It can be rough. But
it's a great really movie with tons of sexual violence. You love it.
No, just one scene, one short scene, but it's enough to really. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, but this one.
Were you guys not just entranced
Sorry, everyone.
by this one?
Yes,
I was lost in my TV at this when I watched this one. I was like, this is beautiful. Sweeping me away with sort of just the narrative, the sort of prophetic stuff in the beginning with the stones and the water and just like how we got, I almost want to explore the Jedi in a more elemental way. Like I almost want to look at earth and wind and fire and then cut to the Jedi temple. Like I don't want to the cityscapes and planet hopping. Like I just want to slow down with the Jedi, and this kind of did that. And I'm excited about that tone, and I hope that tone is something we can look at and think about for going forward with Star Wars. I just thought that was wonderful, just the opening of this piece. And then I don't know, we can have our Gray Jedi debate now or later in the show if you want to, but I think this is a great example of a Jedi struggling with fear and anger, and sort of that term just being apt for that.
This might be the place, if we were going to do it, this might be the place to do it, because I don't think it really comes up in the last three.
This is it.
I think actually
last four.
There is one more that when I was thinking about it. No, I guess this was it. I guess this was the second one.
This is it. This is the big one.
So, I mean, I thought you were talking about the Sith the first time you mentioned this. So
I think it's both the Sith and
we've
the
been
journey.
having off-air philosophical debates about Great Jedi. And I don't even think we're having the same debate. I think, All
right, so I want to say one thing about the term Gray Jedi. I think the way it's misused is in a way where you're alluding to someone who dabbles in both light and dark side of the Force, and they're a master. They have mastery in both sides of the Force, and they use that for their advantage in every avenue and every obstacle that they deal with. Right. I think that's the bad way to use that term.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's the wrong way to use
and
that term.
I mean, it doesn't exist according to floating.
And that term is wrong. I think that a healthy way to use the term is just a succinct way to describe a Jedi who is dealing with fear and anger, and trauma in a transient, it's a transitory state where you're going to get out of it. Your chips are going to fall on one side of the table. You know what I mean? In the sort of game of balance that, Freddie Prinze Jr. and Filoni and Lucas have all alluded to, right? This sort of balance, this ultimate balance, and everyone has a chip in the game, and you're light or dark by the end of it. That's true.
By the end of it.
That's true.
The key term.
By the end of it.
Right. Yeah, it's a journey.
You shift the board and you shift the game at the end. There's a process in which you can be, I think, a Gray Jedi, and I think this short sort of
transient state. Yeah. I'm with you. I agree 100%, Grant. I wish we could reclaim the term Gray Jedi.
Yeah.
because it's been really ruined by a very small subset of, I'm not even calling fans, a subset of people who fundamentally misunderstand Star Wars.
Is it worth projecting that term? Because I'll take clouded Jedi. I'll take that.
All right, maybe we go clouded.
I'll take clouded Jedi.
We need that's the thing, because we need a term. Because we have light Jedi and we have dark Jedi, and I accept those terms. Right? There's the light Jedi, which is the Jedi. There's dark Jedi, which are not Sith, but people who are belong to the dark side, dark side users. But there are people in the middle, going from one way to the other, stuck in the middle, figuring their stuff out. And what do we have for that term? Because Gray Jedi would be a perfect term, because it's right between late and dark, but it's been ruined. So I like this idea of maybe clouded Jedi is a way to refer to it. I kind of like clouded Jedi.
I'm happy taking that.
I could live with
Ben. I know
I could live with clouded Jedi, but I have to say I would just call them Jedi because Jedi embody balance, right? They understand the both sides of the of the coin, and that both sides are in you, but you choose the light. And I mean,
but they do sense the bad energy of anger and fear, and they do highlight that and sort of bring up that person's file and tell everyone about that. It's it is something they try to target and eliminate. And then when someone is inundated with fear and trauma and just severe emotion. That to me, that's a gray Jedi. Someone who's basically there's no quick solution to it. It's chronic.
I would just call it again. I just call it a Jedi. I mean, are you referring to? I'm pulling up the character's name right now. The Jedi from the what's his name? Tool? Is that it?
Yeah, I think that's his name.
Tool.
Yeah,
sounds right.
He, he's a Jedi, and they're like, I sense much fear in him, right? His masters are like, he's afraid, and he's young and he's afraid, but he's a Jedi. They're not like Darksider. They're not, Luke Skywalker killing his nephew on his, while he sleeps. It's like, he's there. That's just, he's going through a rough patch right now, but he's a Jedi because he's struggling between the light and the dark. And then, when you go up, the fight takes itself to the heads, right? And she sees the heads. And I think that's just a misrepresentation. All of us, it's like, we can just kill the bad part and then everything will be okay. And then when she gets up there, she realizes like, no, there's nuance. Like there's, people are not all bad or all good. You just need to, deal with what's in front of you and do the best you can and be the best person you can. And he does end up killing the Sith, which I thought was, all right, there's a death there. You're taking a life. That's not necessarily a light side thing to do, but like the clarity that she gains is that it's not, there is nuance, right? It's not just like these wars come from one place and it's just, everyone thinks they're virtuous, but, not all of them are. So you need to just have hope, be the brightness, be the positivity. And then the Jedi, on the other hand, is like he came through fear, and he just, I'm sort of forgetting his like prophetic vision and all of that as well. But he was, he wasn't turning to the dark side at all. He was just afraid of this, one entity.
He conquered his fear, which is
is what he did, and he understood that like it wasn't just like not running in fear and being a reactionary to all the bad things around him. It was just like, no, I need to be a beacon of hope. And that was it. So, I mean, that's why I'm kind of surprised this was your Gray Jedi episode, because I just saw Jedi.
Right. I just thought in the early parts of the episode when he was operating out of sheer terror and just chaos in a chaotic sort of state. I thought when he sort of unwillingly went to the dark now and again, I thought that was an example of basically someone who is clouded or a gray sort of Jedi in between light and dark for just the
right,
simple
like when
states
you could see his eyes went to like yellow diamonds. It was like it was like for a brief moment he had the like Sith eyes,
and that only happens to Anakin. Like I don't know, and like I don't know. I guess I'm bringing the visuals. I'm elevating the visuals in a way that's kind of unfair to the argument.
No. I think you're dead on.
Like,
I think you're dead on, man. Like because
I just
that's what
like
they were trying for. That wasn't accidental. Like.
I think it's also but it's also an aesthetic approach as to like I'm angry or you could also just attribute that to rage or in like you're saying. I think that shows the balance.
But rage is another thing. Like Grant, I'm with you. Like I read it here as and I'm with you, Ben. Like I read it as a journey, right? And I think we all saw the same journey.
Yeah.
Right. It's like how are we subdividing this journey? I guess is kind of the discussion we're getting at is like, are there moments when it like Ben, you're like, the journey doesn't matter. It's the destination that matters. Right. And his destination was he conquered his fear. He conquered his rage, conquered his anger. He is a Jedi at the end, which I think we all agree with.
Yes.
But it's like, are those moments when you dip down, are you clouded or gray or what have you? Or does that just, like how much do we subdivide these areas of the journey? And
he's almost gray Jedi light. I would say, because I think there's more specific examples of maybe someone who's completely left the order but still good, but then uses some darkness. You're like, that's a gray Jedi. Like I don't know how to describe that person quickly. I don't know just a quick way to describe.
I mean, I just think that's human beings on their journey to me, and I accept that if you want to subdivide it and categorize that, that's great. That's great. But I mean. Not everyone can be Obi-Wan Kenobi. Think about Kenobi, right? Like, why is he the White Knight? Like the like pure gleaming example. I mean, he saw his beloved murdered in front of him, and did he turn to the dark side? No. You know, it's like he saw.
I know. I'm trying to think of
his-
characters that are gray Jedi, or who people would argue could be examples of gray Jedi, and hold them next to Obi-Wan.
Well, yeah, Obi-Wan's exactly not that, right? Like he's like, because he didn't even go through the journey.
I mean, Dark
he just
Disciple,
sort of like
when Quinlan
always
Voss
chose
sort
light.
of like Quinlan Voss is like a gray Jedi.
Quinlan Voss is the one that everyone kind of holds up a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of
right?
like the whole Dark Disciple
From Dark
storyline.
Disciple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I
Yeah.
love that book. Everyone read Dark Disciple.
Kinda like, that's
read
the-
it.
It's
That's
really
like kind
great.
of
It's good.
It's a
Well,
more
like-
specific example.
But it's kind of, we're back to the journey versus the destination thing, right? Like I think we get the point of it. And I think kind of what we talked about, I think we even talked about this last week. It's just like, and Gray, you even mentioned at the beginning, is like a gray, and in text, a gray Jedi is not, it's not a permanent state. It's transitory, right?
Yeah.
Meaning that this is my personal belief about made up nonsense.
That's what we're doing here, buddy.
I just heard myself. Sorry,
Tell
I
us
just
how
heard
you
myself.
feel about
Is that like, it's not a permanent thing, that you can't exist fully, because if you're dabbling in the dark, you're getting pulled towards that dark, right? And so like you are constantly battling. It's like I don't know, it's like addiction. It's like anything else, right? Like it's, people are just now, it's the point you're tapping on the dark side to remain even, right? Which is like, eventually it's not going to go well.
I almost
for
thought
you.
he was clouded in this one, even more
Yeah.
chaotic. Like I wouldn't say Mace Windu uses like Vapod lightsaber
Right.
form, and we know that requires a sort of tapping into the dark side. Yet
Yeah.
I would never in a million years say he's a gray Jedi. He's a Jedi.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
then
it's true and true.
just switch that over to
And-
Quinlan Voss. Would you say Quinlan Voss is a gray Jedi?
No, I'd also say he's a Jedi,
Right.
because I think he kind of powers through, and I think George always had him as a kind of Jedi. I think there's Revenge of the Sith, like
Yeah.
deleted stuff.
Right, but
He's like
Darth
Jedi.
Vader, dark side, right?
No, I think this short, almost the beginning of this short, I think best shows you the sort of clouded or chaotic, maybe operating out of sheer terror, as to being someone who I'd attribute to being like possibly a gray Jedi or a clouded Jedi. It's just like, I think the chaos of it. Anakin, I would say, was gray before he fully drops. He fully, commits.
I mean, Luke, I think would probably
Slightly
be
gray.
your
He's
best
like killing
argument.
Tusken Raiders. Like that's
I-
gray to me.
It's
Like
it-
you
it-
just
it-
murder
I mean,
Tusken Raiders. Like,
We've had this argument a long
And
time
women
ago, but I
and-
think
and
like
the children.
great.
Anakin,
For a
I
while,
think,
he
was
great.
dark side since he started killing Tusken Raiders.
Yeah, I remember that discussion. I'm glad you brought up Grant, because I was gonna drop that bomb earlier, and I'm like, do we have another half an hour? But
We're
like that's the
halfway
thing,
through
is
this,
it's
like these
like
episodes.
do we want to like now place this on Anakin's journey? And I'm with you, Ben. I'm like, I'm trying to think. I feel like when you get to him slaughtering,
he's dark. After
not
that.
just
Never mind.
also
He's
the
lost
women and the
completely.
children. It's like, it's hard to say you're gray at that point. You're
Yeah,
fully
you're
dark.
lost.
But I think if you then start bringing in I guess that's pre-Clone Wars. So I guess all through Clone Wars he's a dark Jedi, but he doesn't feel like a dark Jedi through Clone Wars. He feels like,
Yes, he
I
does.
know.
Yes, he
Is
does.
a great
I
Jedi.
don't
If
know.
you
I
watch
feel
it
like he
again, dude,
dabbles.
because like he's just killing fools. Like there's one time where they're like, "What are we gonna do?" And Anakin like sneaks up behind
Yeah.
a guy and stabs him through the chest, and he's just like, "What?
Yeah.
Like, what did you expect me to do?" Like, dude,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny. I mean, listen, you guys like. For me, it's always going to be ones and zeros. You're either dark or light.
Wow, I love
Ones
it.
or zeros.
fair
you know?
enough.
And like,
Yeah.
because that's just how I feel. But I mean, I understand if, they're in these states, if you want to like
Ben,
categorize it, like
not
I get
only,
that.
Not only do I respect you, but I'm also gonna raise this argument. I'm
Let's
gonna raise
go.
you one.
Let's
I'm gonna
go.
say Grey Jedi is a pillar that almost needs to be in
Oh,
every
God.
Star Wars
Here we
trilogy.
So this is how the podcast ends.
this is the second part of my thing is like I just don't want to give credence to the term Gray Jedi. Like,
Right.
if you
I
want to
feel
create
like
that state,
intermediary, the person moving
fabulous.
between.
Let's call it
the person
Clouded
moving
Jedi.
Between has to be in every trilogy. It's like almost a centerpiece.
Yeah,
Person
I mean,
moves
if it
from
happened
one
to
to the other.
Anakin, right, like it is a centerpiece. But like, let's just call it. I just don't want to give credence to the mouth breathers.
I don't want
and
to. I don't want to
lickers
get those
that are like-
clicks.
yeah.
Yeah,
So-
all right. Let's vanquish the term because of
Yeah.
its
Jedi,
trolls.
That's the
name of
compromise.
episode,
and I will acknowledge that
Clouded
Clouded
Jedi.
Jedi exist.
All right.
Yeah,
So this
fair
is
enough.
just a Jedi
I-
struggling with this dark Sith character who's
Yeah.
hunting him across the galaxy.
So it's weird because as a member of academia and talking about sociological theories, I feel like I started coming to this podcast to escape these semantic arguments that I get embroiled with for hours, and yet somehow
here we are.
I'm back right in it because I'm like, we're all agreeing, we're just disagreeing on semantics.
Yeah, exactly.
But I 100%. But words matter and terms matter. Trust me, I know that. So I agree. Like, why don't we just call it Clouded Jedi? We'll move on. Some of us because I'm also with you, Ben. I feel like you end up either a 0 or a 1. You end up either a Jedi or a Dark Jedi or Sith. But like, what do we do with everyone who's in the middle of that journey? Right?
Yeah.
We'll just call them Cloud Jedi and move on.
Yes, agreed.
As the scales shift, there's people in between. We'll call them Clouded.
Done.
Yeah.
All right.
Episode 6.
The spy. There's a typo on Wikipedia. It's called the Spy Dancer, but I'm pretty sure it's the Sky Dancer, isn't it?
No, I thought it was Spy
It
Dancer.
is Spy Dancer?
I think it is. It's the Spy
Yeah, the
Dancer.
Spy Dancer.
So I had like
because she's a spy and a dancer.
she is,
The Spy
but
Dancer.
I mean she's
Yeah.
also a Sky Dancer.
Oh, true.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I guess I had a visual glitch.
That's funny.
Spy Dancer. All right. Studio La Cachette from La France.
Was it from France? Let me guess. Was it from France?
Yeah.
It seemed
Which
French.
I was really excited about, actually.
Me too. It was great. It's
Yeah.
actually one of my favorites.
It's the most French.
the French cantina, the
It's very
cabaret.
French.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so French, which I love. Let me just. Here we go. Official description: the premier dancer at a famous imperial frequented cabaret uses her unique skill set to spy for the rebellion, but the presence of a mysterious officer threatens to derail her mission.
So good.
So good.
This one was amazing.
It was amazing.
The
Yeah.
action. I never thought a ribbon could do that much damage to a droid.
Yeah, don't think too hard about it. About science in this one or physics.
That Imperial security droid was terrifying.
Wait,
Yeah.
the
In this
KT
piece.
or the
The
K
KT
droid?
droid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way it just like almost killed the other dancer,
Mm-hmm.
not the eponymous Spy Dancer.
I think you mean Sky Dancer. Yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I,
God, I'm so stupid. Why did I miss that? I'm like, obviously it says Sky
No.
Dancer.
I also a Sky Dancer. But this one kind of like so the journey to the Dark Head felt like kind of like a weirdly like, oh, we're back to doing what we did in Visions Volume 1, right? Season 1. It felt very much like that.
Yeah,
very
the
anime.
ninth,
Yeah.
I keep thinking about the Ninth Jedi, which is like, which I thought
right.
was
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
the high watermark there as far as a series that
It's so
could
good.
be real
Yeah.
and be
So
in a
good.
series. Yeah.
But it weirdly felt like really more comfortable in that. And then I got to this one. I'm like, oh, that's right. We're exploring more voices outside of the voices that we saw in the first one. And I was just sitting there just going like, oh, this is so clearly like a metaphor for World War II and the French resistance.
Yeah.
And watching it in like just because that's what Star Wars is too, right? Like
Yes.
Lucas was just the original Star Wars is all about World War II, and to have a French studio take the French perspective of World War II and translate it into Star Wars, it still just works 100%.
So good.
Yeah,
Yeah. Just the Imperial officer with the eye patch.
devastating,
So like
too.
it just felt
Yeah.
like straight out of a French film.
it was another just great ending where I was just like, no, don't end, keep going.
Yeah.
Like this is amazing setup for a series.
Yeah, and so you find out about the Sky Dancer and her backstory, and she's a rebel, sort of leading her cause and doing her thing, and then, she gets tripped up because she has her flashback and about her child being taken from her, which is something that's happening right now in Ukraine right now every day, which is sort of sickening, and that's all I can sort of think about. But yeah, and then I'm like, why would the Imperials take a person? But like that's literally happening right now. Like Russians are there, taking children.
Yep, and happened a lot in World War II as well. Like it was just a thing that happened with the French, and is like you said, happening right now to the Ukrainians.
Sorry to bring us down to our bad reality, but yeah, there we are. But back to the galaxy.
We're 2 episodes away from the pit, so don't worry. We're gonna go down.
Yeah, the pit's
We're gonna go way down.
Fully break us.
Yeah, just warning.
But it was just so heartbreaking where she's just like, I hate everything you represent, but I love you because you're my son. I mean, like that's where we met. And like that was the moment that the whole episode was gearing towards, and the rest of it was just beautiful.
It was, and I love that it wasn't an easy ending, right? Like it wasn't one of those things where she got to confront her son, and the son was like, "Oh, you're right. I'm leaving the Empire. I believe in this now." Like it was just an amazing. It was devastatingly real,
right? And the victory was that like our connection. Like I've spoken my piece. I spoken my truth to power, and there's a connection. There will always be a connection, literal like communications connection between the two of them. He knows she's out there, she knows where he is, and then off they go. Yeah.
The guy with the buzzsaw, that guy was great.
yeah.
Oh right. Yeah.
I mean, it was very Andor, right? Just like these people that are just like cogs in the machine, doing what they can to make just keep the rebellion humming. It's great.
And because it was French, I just kept waiting for tragedy. Like I just kept waiting for like everyone to die or someone horrible. Like,
did you not get tragedy in this, Adam? Or was your tragedy bucket not full by the end of this?
It was. No, I was actually weirdly hopeful. Like there was weirdly for an episode that I kept waiting for her to die or her young protege, maybe her daughter.
Yeah, the protege nearly dies. So.
It's unclear.
It's weird
that relationship.
They're heterochromatic, but I don't know if it's like their species are all heterochromatic.
Right.
And that's why he
doesn't call her mom.
No, she's not related. Yeah. And did she have horns? I don't think she did. So I don't think they're in the same species, but they're both heterochromatic for some.
Yeah. So, but clearly a mother-daughter relationship, regardless of genetic ties, and I just kept waiting for her to lose her adoptive daughter to her biological son in a way. Like I'm like, that's tragedy. That's French tragedy right there. I kept waiting for it to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that totally. Yeah. I mean, maybe she adopted that protege because of her eye color.
Right.
Who knows? Even though she's a different species, but it just reminded her of her son. Like, woof. Okay, moving on. The Bandits of Golak.
Yeah.
So this was great. So it is an Indian picture. Okay, cool. I didn't really know where this came from because it could have come from anywhere. 88 pictures out of India made the Bandits of Golak. And yeah, this is a classic tale.
Awesome.
Let me just official description. Fleeing from their village by train and pursued by ferocious imperial forces, a boy and his Force-sensitive younger sister seek refuge in a vibrant and dangerous Daba.
Yeah. This was like a hyper real sort of like someone discovers you have force powers, like gotta survive situation.
Yeah.
I loved that. I thought that was just such a sort of like fun and interesting and sort of immersive approach to starting that pursuit, starting the sort of chase with the Empire.
Yeah, I mean, they started it with the like train sequence, which is like, I thought that was going to be the whole episode, right? Like, I'm like, oh, this is a train episode. Here we go.
Yeah.
So high detail, and just like the train cars were awesome. And then you see so many creatures and aliens and humanoids just like walking around. It's really cool.
And just the scene with the brother and sister getting separated on the train and him leading the stormtroopers away, but also seeing all the passengers swarming the child. It was so tense. And then it's very similar to Screecher's Reach, right? That ending of just like, again, 2 out of the 9 show the traumatic events of Jedi leading children away from their loved ones.
Well, I mean, the other one was a Sith, right?
Inquisitor.
Oh, right. I'm sorry, you're right. Inquisitor, yeah.
Yeah, that I just loved the sort of like the traditional Indian garb, like his attire. I just thought the costume, like that costume was so cool. It's almost like I would almost prefer that over like the sort of like Apple, smoothed Inquisitor outfits that we know well. I loved this take. I thought it was so
the Inquisitor outfit.
Yeah. Yeah, just the Inquisitor outfit.
I know.
Yeah, I never think that about the bad guys. I'm always just like, oh, look at this like giant, black.
Can we talk about Inquisitors for a second?
no detail, and then
Sure.
I mean, yes. So
Yeah.
yes, I mean he was my favorite Inquisitor because he had his own personal
He was-
swag and he was great and he was super strong and intimidating.
Mhm.
Okay, so the lightsabers, right? Like,
Are we gonna?
oh, we're gonna do this now. We just litigated gray
I
Jedi,
know.
and we just decided clouded Jedi
So,
shall be the new term.
what I'm gonna start from the ending here, and then either you can say I'm full of bantha poodoo or not. But I think the reason is obviously I don't like the lightsaber, like how they're homogenous and everyone uses the same lightsaber, and I hate the lightsaber design. Like one person somewhere should have that lightsaber design, but not an entire squad of because it's comical. It's like a comical, gimmicky design to me. But okay,
Yeah.
So they all have it, but I think the reason is they couldn't let them all have their own individual lightsaber designs because they've stripped all of these people from their individuality. Like this is what they do in cults. This is what they do for indoctrination. It's like, no, you're a number.
Yeah.
You are second sister. You are eighth brother. You are whoever. I wish we got this.
Yeah,
Actually, I should check the thing to see if we have an identification for that.
I'm sure
Inquisitor.
his name.
Let me just actually see right now. No, he's just called Inquisitor.
Yeah.
I wish they give him a number, but
they don't. It's very loose on Wikipedia because it's so non-canon.
Yeah.
They only want to try to like guess what things are. But yeah, I agree, Ben. And I think the same thing is you don't like a big part of being a Sith is bleeding your crystal, right? And I feel like that's not part of what happens with the Inquisitors because they want to tell them you are enforcers, you are basically our hounds,
right.
But you are not a Sith. You are
right,
not
but it's like,
one of us.
all right, so they all have red crystals or whatever that's given to them. It's just like, why do you have to have a helicopter lightsaber? That's what I mean. Like, just like some people should have like two-handed, dual wielding, and some people should have double, but like, no, you have to have this like, helicopter lightsaber design that I'm just like, listen, it's cool. It's cool on its own, but when everyone has it, I'm just not a fan. I'm just not a fan. And this is personal opinion and whatever.
I also don't think it's cool on its own, but I'm just saying. I just not a fan, but hey, it's fine. It didn't bother me when it was in Rebels. I mean, honestly, no, I'll take it back.
It did
kinda
bother you.
threw me-
I was there.
It threw me on Rebels.
It bothered you most.
Most in Rebels,
but,
yeah.
but I was also like, but I was able to do the it's a cartoon thing and get away from it. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll get some of that answers because we're getting a book about being an Inquisitor.
Really?
That's coming out this summer by Delilah Stolson.
Oh, I'm in. All the way in.
So it's coming out. I think I'd have to pull up our spreadsheet, but it's coming out later this summer. So now I'm like,
all right.
Please give me a full novel about what it's like to be an Inquisitor, because maybe I'll have a little more connection to that now after reading. I mean, again, that's what Star Wars does.
Delilah
Is just build
walks
out
on water for me, so like
Agreed.
whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like that's in good hands there. But yeah, like but I have a feeling it's like they're stripping them of their identities to put them in this cult, and like,
I think you're right. I think,
and
it's
also
gonna
you
be
have to
a lot
use
about
this
going through a
dumb
cult.
lightsaber for the rest of your life.
But hey, you can like slowly descend from the heights with it. Apparently,
He did kind of like he didn't helicopter with it, but he like kind of like force
almost
helicoptered
did.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is still my
Yeah,
favorite.
real
Yeah,
close.
this is my favorite Inquisitor. I love him.
I like
I
the
think
look.
it's cool
I
when
the
it's
look
like
a lot.
whirring in front of their face, though. And
Oh, yeah.
going super
Oh, yeah.
fast.
Yeah, I
It's
don't.
pretty sweet.
I don't hate it as much. It's really the helicopter thing that really just always just that's what it's a stretch too far for me, to be
I
honest.
guess it's
But, hey,
kind of
what are you gonna do?
cool, but it's like it's just weird with the ring. It's like
Ben,
I don't know.
Ben, stop trying to talk yourself into it.
It's like whenever you get too flashy,
It's
like
okay.
Grievous, you just find out.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I guess
You just get
right.
you just get destroyed. Like, don't get too
Yeah.
flashy.
So
Yeah.
that's the
You like
argument,
to-
right? So that's the canon argument is they got it from Grievous, right? Is that going to be the canon argument? Is they got it from?
I don't think so because Grievous was grasping at straws. These are all force sensitives. They don't need gimmicks. It's like, when everything
Yeah.
goes wrong, they turn on the rotor and start spinning their lightsaber on it. It's like,
What if they just don't want to train them on saber combat because then they pose a threat to Vader? And so they just give them these sort of like
automatic
mini
sabers.
lightsabers, automatic lightsabers. And they don't ever get to go manual. Yeah.
It's so funny because I don't hate the Inquisitorius as a
No, I
concept.
love it.
Like
Yeah,
to me,
it makes sense.
it makes sense to me is that you have to have these hounds to seek out the remaining Jedi, especially now that, as we see, we're building out how many Jedi survived Order 66, which also makes sense. But like it's it's really just the lightsabers.
Yeah.
It's
All right,
really just the lightsabers.
Let's try and pin it to someone. Let's think really hard. Who made that decision that every Inquisitor would have that lightsaber? Is it Filoni?
Like, oh, I thought you meant like in world, but in
real world.
it's gotta be Filoni. It's gotta be Filoni because Filoni's Rebels. Like it was.
Is it that big of a
Who's the
problem? I
first-
feel like it's more like the proliferation of Inquisitors is the problem because then it's like turns into.
No, I think it's just
comic
the
books,
helicopter
but
lightsaber.
It's just the
to be honest.
lightsaber design. I
It's just
I
the
think it
helicopter
makes sense that
lightsabers.
they would have an Inquisitorius, and I love the fact
Yeah.
that it's like converted Jedi. Like it's horrific, right? But
Yeah.
but it's just the fact that they all use the same dumb lightsaber. Like was it Filoni? I mean, he didn't really
I think
create
so.
the Inquisitorius. That could have been a concept before, but the first Inquisitor we see, yes, the first Inquisitor
It's
is
Rebels,
Rebels,
right?
right? The Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah, which is like Filoni's like
Yeah.
golden child. Like
My number one
think it is
complaint with
Filoni.
the Inquisitorius is that they look too cool. Like they look cooler than Vader. It upsets me sometimes. I'm just like, well,
I
like
don't
they're upstaging the big guy. Like they're upstaging like the
Nothing looks as cool as Vader. to me,
Nothing
man.
looks cooler than Vader.
Really. I
Yeah,
don't know. They look pretty cool.
I think
They
like-
look like so cool.
I feel like their helmets
it looks
look
like
kind of dumb.
super cool, mechanized, sort of like mechanized features that you wouldn't see on a Vader costume because Vader is designed in
Yeah.
like 75.
that's why. Yeah, that's true. I don't
It's
know.
like-
Well, I was gonna say we'll figure it out at some point. But I'm just like, but I'll say like I like the Inquisitorius because you get good storytelling. Like we'll talk about it. Maybe I don't know if we'll talk about this episode. But we talk more about Jedi Survivor. Like there's a great story beat at the beginning of that game with an Inquisitor that I really actually got me a bit choked up that I appreciated.
All right. Are we done with this episode? I mean, it's an amazing
done.
episode.
I loved
Saber.
it.
I mean, it's,
Yeah,
you know,
agreed.
it's a fantastic story.
Yeah.
But pretty standard thing. And
Yeah.
also we get a path, right? We get a nod to the hidden path, which I think is fantastic. This is a genre. This is an era specific story. It's in the
And the Jedi woman is pretty cool. That
yes, we get an old woman that's suddenly more spry than
busts out
I
like two
would
sides.
ever have been.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, the hidden path I think is, I love the hidden path. And I love that they're bringing that out. I just think that's such a cool thing, and it lends itself to so much fun storytelling.
Yeah, it's a great addition to
Because it could
kinda
mean
the dark time
there's
canon.
loads and loads of latent, or not. That's not the word. Not latent. Sort of Jedi that
just
are
force sensitive.
yeah, force
Jedi.
sensitives and
Force
Jedis that
adepts
are
out there.
that are standing by. That are
Yeah, well, like similar to Cal Kestis at the beginning of Jedi Hidden Order, right? Like where he's just not using but he just hasn't used his powers for years and years and years to remain hidden.
Yeah, right, exactly. But
Yeah.
so I mean, if they maybe in the the new Jedi Order with Rey, boom, there could be hundreds, and children of these people, this like there could be. Imagine if it was just a deluge of like lore drop, like callback people. It's like all these people that were in these various stories. Like it would be amazing.
Can you imagine? Who knows how that movie's going to be?
Yeah.
But can you just imagine the amount of EU that's going to come out of that one movie?
Right.
Like now we have books and books and books about
these other people.
the new Jedi Order and all these other all these kids' journeys to Rey's
I know, but like in
school.
theory, you could see in that movie, you could new Jedi Order, and it's 10 years later, and Finn's been traveling around pulling, he contacts the hidden path, and then boom, all these people. I mean, actually, that should probably be his mission in that movie, is to find the hidden path people or their knowledge and then bring them out of hiding. But I mean, they'd all be old, but you could find Quinlan Vos, Cal Kestis.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think like other folks, but there's a lot out there. I mean, Ahsoka, like everyone that's followed this path. This woman we saw, this girl we saw here, a lot of young Jedi. I don't know. I'm just saying, there's a lot of big names there that could be pulled out of mothballs.
Oh, totally.
Oh,
and you're
boy.
totally going to have a movie where there's just people walking through the background, and it's going to be like old Star Wars, where you're like, well, it's going to be like a cantina scene at the new Jedi Academy. It's just going to be like, well, in the way background there, it was that girl from the Visions episode.
Right.
It was this from that.
Yeah.
Like, it's just going to be amazing. Yeah.
What's to stop? Like I don't know. Like a fresh take on like a new trilogy to me would be like someone starting their own faction, basically like a third
that'd be
faction coming
fun.
out of the woodwork, like people who are Force adepts who are out there who are using their Force powers, finding the Force, finding swords, finding a faith, building a faith of some kind, and an order of some kind, and sort of like going against the grain of whatever other Jedi institutions are out there. Like that, to me, that's like a fresh take on the whole thing.
I mean, yeah, if they could do a thing where Rey is going down the path of sort of falling, like in solidarity with the New Republic, and like trying to support the Republic
or the sacred texts, like she thinks she's following the codex, the sacred texts and things like that, and this other faith is right. I guess it's kind of a repeat of the Mandalorian and sort of what we've seen in that show, where it's sort of people following the old traditions versus
the more modern
new creed.
Yeah. I mean, I think that would be fun, though. I mean, you could do it in different ways where you've got like these people that, like old.
Or just like wild Jedi. Like the term could be wild Jedi. Like these Jedi that just basically started out in the fringes of space and like are building their own, like are basically found a temple and think they unlocked a certain prophecy, but misread, the prophecy was. Whatever. It would have
right, but it started a whole ideology that's like.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's just a whole fun new faction to deal with.
I love that.
That would be fun.
Yeah, I love that.
And we're talking about the hidden path, and you're talking about people coming out of the, out from the past. I was like, well, what if like people from the past kind of just did something different, whatever. Or if there's so many Force users out there in the galaxy, why not? Maybe someone just decide their own fate and build their own sort of order or something. Yeah. The pit, guys.
Okay, are we at the pit?
We're at the pit.
Oh boy. Okay.
Welcome to the pit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh. 2 more to go. So this is the pit. So this is a tough one, but beautiful story.
Yeah, beautiful.
I watched this twice. I watched this once, and then I just went back and watched it again.
You're a real one,
This
buddy.
is devastating.
No, Grant, I did the exact
You
same
did
thing.
the same thing?
I
No
did the same
way.
thing. It's the only one I watched back to back. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Why was this so? Why did this grab hold of me and just like shake me and like be like Star Wars can teach you things, can make you a better person, like. You can understand like the plights of of just authoritarianism in such a concentrated dose. It was just such a concentrated dose. This is the terror of authoritarianism.
But it's so real.
It also has connections. It's so real. It has connections to our American history, which is fascinating because it was co-produced by Shitaggio and Lucasfilm. And Japan and Lucasfilm.
Yeah, Lucasfilm made this.
So this is the only one that Lucasfilm had their thing. So it's really interesting because this is the one that I did not. I had a pretty good feeling of what countries each of these came from. I was pretty much spot on, except this one. And I thought this might have been because I didn't see who it was, but I thought maybe it was just the U.S. because it felt like an analogy to American slavery. And it felt like an analogy to chain gangs in the South used and indentured workforces post the freeing of the slaves. So anyway, so I had that going through my head during this whole thing, and it really shook me to my core because of that. And I don't know, that might have been something that I laid onto this that wasn't there, but it really it was rough and amazing too. And it's one of those things where it shows the worst and best of humans, which is what I kind of loved about it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's super tragic. And just to see, I think the one character be thrown into the pit to their death. Was
hard.
I honestly never have seen something so affecting, like in an animated story.
I literally cried.
I was moment. Like, what just happened? And then when it's Star Wars, no one dies in Star Wars,
right?
No one's ever really gone.
Yeah,
that guy.
And
when
they even
you see them put the wrappings on him, like the cover his body, I was like, is this really happening? I was devastated. I was like, this is heart-rending. I'm basically like, all they wanted to do was just shed light on their horrible situation.
Yeah,
they kill this guy for it, and
they do a post-credit scene. Did you all catch that?
Yeah, I caught the post-credit scene.
Yeah, and so I because it goes back down to the bottom of the pit, And it's one of those things where I'm just like, oh, are they now going to reveal that he somehow survived? He's going to come out of the grave, and it just shows his grave marker, which is a beautiful piece of art, right? Which is the importance of this. Like, he will always be remembered for his sacrifice, right? Like, but it's just that was just like another gut punch at the end, but also like a beautiful moment too. Of just that.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a hyper real elucidation of like what capitalism and imperialism is. It's like, yes, of course, like the people that threaten the status quo and the the separation of class, like if they can, they'll kill you, to protect their money. Like, they'll just kill you and sweep you under the rug if they can. And it's like, I mean, that's real. And like that stuff happens. And it's like, but it was just painted in like, yeah, this is the way it goes. I mean, it was a very literal, metaphor. That's not a thing, but like it's a very, crisp
on
metaphor,
the nose, or metaphor. In your face.
Metaphor, exactly.
In a good way. Yeah.
I mean, and then when it just crests and it shows, not only does it show the horrors of authoritarianism and imperialism and colonialism, it then shows us the solution, and it shows how activism and people joining together and like solving and like finding the damage and curing the wound, like how we can as one move together and change history. Just we have to move together and all carry one light together.
It is important. Individuals are needed. Individuals can start a momentum. They can be a martyr, but that needs to be followed up with the voice of the people. Literally, in this case, literally. Right? Of just people in a pit shouting together to be heard.
And then when they're just saying "follow the light,"
that
mantra, and that extended sort of piece of the people just marching towards them, pushing through the stormtroopers, like that was just powerful imagery. I thought there's like, okay, this is clearly, I think, the most powerful of all the episodes this season. Just given that imagery, pushing through, getting to the whole.
I don't know how political or literal we want to get here, but to watch a person of color murdered by an authoritarian force, and then to have the people who witnessed that murder speak up and rally and say words was really meaningful. What was depressing about it was to see that in this fantasy world, it led to a major significant change. Yeah. And to see in our world that it's going to take too many of these things for it to actually change.
That's what I thought too. It's like if a person rose up, I mean, this is our Uyghur Muslims, right? They're like writing notes into people's packages being like, we're being murdered and raped every day to like deliver Amazon packages for you. Right. And it's just like, or are these deliveries? And did anyone stand up? Did everyone say this is wrong? No, they didn't.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. The reality is like if that person stood up in this thing, they just ignore it and be like, well, does that threaten my way of life? Like that's where we are as a world right now. It's this nationalism, but you could just like reduce nationalism to selfishness, right? It's just like, no, I got to look out for my own. It's fear. It's global fear being like, I need to protect mine, and anything that's not me and my people are a threat. And it's just like, that's not how we survive. That's not how we flourish as a people. It's like, no, we are strong because of our differences. We are strong because, we have common humanity, and we realize that, and we take care of each other. And but
it was a good rallying call, though.
Yes,
absolutely.
It was a good rallying call for what we can all do to sort of make a difference. I thought that was a good thing to put out there.
Yeah, and it really made me fascinating. I don't know. So the writer is Leandre Thomas. Which does not sound like a Japanese name to me. Sorry if I'm being ethnocentric.
We didn't need that that editorial comment.
I know. I was just saying, like, filmmaker. Okay, so I just wanted to Google this because there was from Oakland, California.
All right.
Okay, so it's an American who's
Oakland.
Yep. So I just wanted to verify that because I wanted to know who created this in terms of this, because it felt very focused on America, right? And I didn't want to say, but I also don't know what's going on in Japan other than broad strokes, right? And so I just wanted to check that math before I looked at it.
No, I think the parallels
yeah.
are clear and obvious, but it's hard to watch in animated form, and it's just hard to watch in general at any point in time. But it's good to see solutions presented and how everyone can do better, and how we gotta react. You can't just be like the scene where the guy runs out there and he's like, there is horrible things happening in this pit. It was just a wonderful metaphor for sort of the journeys, the horrific things we see in our country, and sort of and the horrible sort of recent political news and things like that. And it's like, if you see something, you've got to identify it and you've got to react. When he's out there in the city and no one's reacting to him, to me that was really hard to watch. And I was like, we've got to help.
Right, that's the accurate portion, right? You know. Yeah. Like finally he finds the high enough stage, the bright enough stage where people can't ignore him. And then that's when change happens.
So I just want to give I've just been Googling a little bit about Leandre Thomas. So I want to give a bit of a shout out just in terms of like what I think is really important. One, I have to check it out. He has a short film called Mirror where he won Best Director at the Pasadena International Film Festival just recently. So I'm definitely going to track that down because he's a voice I want to hear. But he has been part of Lucasfilm for 11 years. And has been, the credits are weird on IMDb, but basically he's just additional, sorry, I lost it, but it's like additional, whatever on all of everything that Lucasfilm has done in the last 11 years. So like on Mandalorian, like writer, producer. It's really unclear. Like it probably sounds like he's just like, it was additional crew. That's what they put him as for like everything.
I want to be additional crew.
Literally everything that they've done. Mandalorian, Tales of the Jedi, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Light and Magic, involved. Obi-Wan. He's just there. I mean, I don't know if that means you're PA. I just don't know what that means. But the important thing, I mean, all the way from Force Awakens on, like he has been in Lucasfilm since the Disney takeover.
Yeah.
And the important thing about it is I don't know this story, but that clearly is a person who's just been part of Lucasfilm and not one of the big names, not a name you'd recognize, not someone who has had individual writing credits, but clearly has a voice and has a story to tell and gets to tell a story in Star Wars that is really meaningful. Like this is great. And I hope they do more of this, of elevating these voices.
Huh, interesting. I mean, maybe he's one of those one in the millions that was like just part of the Lucasfilm family and his story filtered up and they were like,
now that you say that, it shows. I mean, like this story is like feels just boiled down like to its essentials and sort of masterful. It seems like he may have been percolating on this story for a long time in terms of like what it can represent, how it can represent, you know, the horrible shootings and horrible events that have happened in the U.S. recently, and sort of like. But just be a wonderful like metaphor to show how we can actually also solve this stuff and activism and getting out there and making a difference and voting and it's just like, to me that was like, oh, this piece has everything. It has the tragedy, it has the suffering, and it has the solution and like the fix for it all. And
seems like he does a lot of assistant editing work, but it's interesting. I don't know. I kind of want to see if we can get this person on the pod.
Let's go.
Yeah,
I want to talk to him.
It was the most powerful short I've seen of Visions so far. It was like it affected me deeply. Yeah, and I was moved by it.
Amazing. Yeah, I love how deeply this touched you guys, and me too. I mean, I loved all these stories, but this one was obviously a heavy hitter.
Oh, and then the saber crystal at the end.
Right.
Crystal turning blue at the end. Like the light side is with this character who's like, I guess, force sensitive and.
Oh yeah, that's right. She ended up being force sensitive.
I was like, this is such a fun ending, and like,
that's what I took it to mean, is that she was like had enough force power to activate the crystal naked.
And blue is like good. Blue is like the good side or light side.
Well, like it's like if you had a crystal in your lightsaber, as we're gonna find out when we start going to the like origins of the Jedi. I mean, they used to just have a kyber crystal strapped to a stick. And like used the force to activate the crystal to create a saber. Like that was the first lightsaber. And so I feel like this kind of like literally, if you look at, I I think it.
Ben demands a scene where someone just like is just spool and yarn tying a kyber crystal to like a stick.
To a stick, and it's like, let's go. No, honestly, I don't love that. I don't love it, but like, I think it was the I think it was a concept art for Rise of Skywalker. For some reason, it was in there, and they show it. They show the first lightsaber concept drawing, and that's like what it was. And I'm like, oh, but I mean, it's interesting. That's an interesting idea. So that's what I thought this was calling upon, was just like they're bonding with this crystal with their love and their force ability, and it's like activating the crystal in a very mundane way.
Can I take a run at that first kyber crystal, first lightsaber for a second? Because I love the idea that they're attuned to it, right, and that they feel a force connection, and I love the idea that they wrap it around a stick. Here's where I hope it goes and where it doesn't go. No beam, no emission, but for some reason it allows them to use that bow staff or staff as a more powerful weapon.
I see, sort of like an enchantment.
Right,
like
an enchantment almost, where it's not like you're actually creating a laser sword from it, but for some reason that's more powerful. You can break rock with it. You can defeat people. You can break their armor, right? Like this idea of like you're just focusing your force abilities through the staff or something would be interesting.
I'll take a picture of it.
For my dagger, which has
please do.
outlined silhouette of the crash Death Star. That's quite cool. Show it to you guys.
All right. All right, let's go.
Anyways, that's cool. I can't wait to see a stick.
All right. Speaking of kyber, why don't we get on to the last episode we have here? Our Song by Triggerfish, which is a South African company. I adored this. As well. So here we have more stop motion. The description: an alien child who longs to sing is raised by her loving but stern father to stay quiet because of the calamitous effect her voice has on the crystals in the nearby mines. And this is one of this is the only one that had a preamble that was like, this is a world that was like covered in kyber. Korba, I think, is the name of the world. Yeah. But the whole world was corrupted by the dark side. So all the kyber crystal was turned red, which is wild. I love that they've taken this like, oh no, red lightsabers are corrupted crystals, and they've just run with it. They're like, okay, yeah, now a whole planet of crystals has been turned red.
Whole planet.
Right. And are volatile. And then it's like, I mean, essentially she looked like a stuffed animal, like a...
so cool. I love the design.
Crazy
The design was so good. Yeah. And so expressive. Like, I was just blown away how expressive it was with so little like animation.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But it was kind of adorable. It was cute animation. The father and the daughter were just so like lovely. And like them eating, the like scenes of them eating together was just so cute. And it's just like they both eat the same way because they've eaten 1,000 times together. And like, it was great. And then you bring in a Jedi, and she's an amazing character as well. And and then you've got sort of that Andor aspect with the helmets. Like there's just a wall of helmets. And as they're doing, they're miners, and so their job on this planet is to bring forth these corrupted crystals, and the Jedi take them and clean them. They cleanse the crystals, and that's their role, which is kind of virtuous and just great, like a fun aspect of the Force and the mechanisms of the Force. And like, who knows when this is? Again, this is a timeless piece. It could be whenever. And this is the thing. If like this was a series and like we don't know when or where this is, that's great. We just know there's a Jedi, and there's these crystals, and there's the people, and it's great. It's a great story.
Yeah,
it's great. These people are definitely carrying over to canon. By the way, we're seeing like one of these characters as a Jedi.
Yeah, it's so hard not to. Right.
I hope I don't miss it. Yeah. We work so hard to like, aggregate all this information, but it just my like cannabis-addled brain just like can't hold all of these names and all these planets and all these biomes. Like I try so hard.
You guys got me.
Yeah, I don't know
so
anything
much.
about world history. I don't I've already expunged all of that knowledge in favor of this and the Targaryen lineage.
My problem is homebrew. I have like too many homebrew
Oh,
names for
yes.
like Star Wars role playing and stuff. So it's
Right.
like, oh, is that homebrew
Wait,
or
is this
that
canon or did I make this up?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Was I dreaming?
A lot of homebrew.
Yeah.
No, I'll be in front of class and I'll just be like, I'll be spacing on a word that I've said a million times. I'm like, did I just replace this with
Abednego.
Star Wars nonsense?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I just haven't yeah.
Abednego is a people and a planet. Did you know that?
Abnedo? Oh, really? It's the planet Abnedo, and they have Abnedo people.
Yes.
Nice.
All right.
Just useless facts.
I know, but it kills me when I see a non-human species and I can't name it initially, like immediately.
Yeah.
I'm like,
you're obsessed with knowing the names of most
it's
species.
just fun, and I'm teaching myself Arabic. I'm gonna learn.
It's happening.
I'm gonna start writing
Sith's
texts to you
next.
guys only in Arabic.
Ancient Sith is up next.
Yeah, ancient Sith,
Oh,
and then
Runic
Sith, and then
I'm
Mandalorian.
a PhD in Runic Sith.
Oh man, I'm gonna be that guy, and I'm not even gonna be ashamed of it.
If you thought you could find a way to have me respond to fewer texts, you
I found it. And you're like, where's the translate from Arabic to English? Just keep your cipher handy, Adam, and it'll be easy.
Will do. Oh, that sounds great.
Okay, we definitely covered the 9 of these. It's been an hour and a half. Do you guys want to sojourn on and talk a little bit about Jedi Survivor? I don't know if any of you want to listen to this or not, but we've been venturing forth and we found new stuff in Jedi Survivor, and we've been gabbing a little.
I'm happy to do an ad break and then come back, or if you guys, we can just go into it. I'm fine going into it.
We can do an ad break if you want. You want to?
I mean, are ad breaks possible on our new platform, our new station?
Well, the thing is, it's just going to be dead air for the podcast, but I can edit it. I can edit the podcast
right.
so that there's
squinty eye and the beard stroke. We'll just continue. Don't worry.
Yeah.
The I can edit the podcast so there's no break in the podcast.
No,
but
No, I would never do that. We don't need to sell, the comm links or data cards.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's for chumps.
ExpressVPN
Oh
or
my God.
Sofa mattresses or Manscaped or
no. Casper mattress,
We're good.
Squarespace.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're even mentioning this stuff. All right, I'm going to play the bumper for "There's Only One Game." Ready, go. There's literally only one game. There's only one game. There's just one game. And the game is Jedi Survivor. So we're throwing up a spoiler wall here. Grant's finished the game. He's finished the story. So, and I have not. So I'm not going to let him spoil that.
Nor have I.
But we've played more. It's been a week since it's released. But we just wanted to talk a little more about this game because it's buck wild, kid.
Yeah.
So if you've if you
in.
want to like venture into it a little bit, I think Grant's finished it. Adam is I think well into the game, 30% maybe.
I assume. I don't know. Well, Grant, you know where I am. How far am I into it?
Yeah, you have quite a bit more to do.
I assumed.
I think Adam and I are both in the
you
first
get a sort
quarter.
of traversal mechanic, I think midway through the story,
Yeah.
I would say.
Okay, so I'm about.
And then it kind of like from that point, it's like you've got a big chunk left after that.
All right.
Okay. All right. So I think we've determined that Ben is the slightly behind me. So you're the furthest, but not by far. So I'll kind of let you.
Okay, all right. So you don't do that.
prevent-
All right,
well,
sorry.
for-
I'm the lowest common denominator here.
I mean, we all have all the
but
stances.
you.
I can
But
talk
Ben,
about
you and
this.
I are pretty. You and I are pretty
Yeah.
close. Like I think you're only like probably an hour
All right.
behind me.
So there's we have learned that there's 5 stances. I was always wondering why. I'm like, well, we start with 3 stances. Why can we only use 2? Well, the reason, and there's plenty of places to change your stances, but there's 5. And so, yes, we have single-bladed stance, which is your, base stance for any Jedi, right? There's double-bladed Darth Maul stance, which is was the second one around. And then the third one that was introduced in the last game was dual wielding, so you have 2 lightsabers. So those are the first 3. We get those pretty early. The fourth one is Go
Get
for
ready.
it, buddy. It is a you're using a blaster wielding, like blaster and lightsaber wielding, which is like something Grant's been talking about for a long time. You were talking about this last week.
I'm kind of mad Cal Kestis got to shine with this one. I thought Finn, our guy Finn, would really flex with the blaster pistol.
Right. This should be,
But it's fine. It's okay. It's cool to actually see it done. Like you see it done well. Like you feel like half Equilibrium, half Star Wars. Like you were just popping off headshots and like spinning around with your blade. Like it's awesome. Like I
And then
very
amazing. Cool. And then the fifth stance is the Kylo Ren crossguard saber stance, where it's like the lightsaber extends more, and essentially like you're swinging around a two-handed claymore.
Yeah.
See, you read it as the Kylo Ren stance.
I mean,
I read it as like the Vader stance, and is this secretly a lore push to say like Vader studied like an ancient?
Oh my god, I love you so much,
technique.
Grant.
Yeah.
I love you so much right now.
Yeah.
That's just kind of where I went with the game. I was like, is the game trying to push some lore on me right now? Trying to like, I guess, enrich the lore, the soil upon which it's been written.
I love it.
I was like,
I love it so much.
I love it. Yeah, that's kind of where my brain went.
So, do we want to ask? So is this a good place to like just kind of take our temperature? What's your loadout? Your most common loadout for stances?
Let's go round robin here. I can tell you how I played a lot of the game to have fun, and I can tell you what I found to be what I'm best at.
All right,
but or like what I wish I was single saber and blaster. Like I wish I was good at that, but I'm just not that good at that. But I wish that was like what I could rock all the time. I ended up going back to single and double bladed lightsaber, and just like I found those to be unstoppable as I rocked those.
I'm doing like 95% single. Like I just love single. Like it's just a classic. I feel like a real basic bitch, pardon the language, but like that's kind of what I'm at. And then I'll do the my other 5% is the cross-guarded lightsaber. I do weirdly love the heavy swing, which I usually don't do in a lot of games, but I kind of have that timing down, and I do because this game we talked about it off air a little bit, where it's just like you get like one hit in between blocks in a lot of ways, and so if I'm gonna get one hit in, I kind of want it to be the big hit.
Yeah, the heavy swings. Yeah, you're right. It's just like Vapad.
Swings,
it's like very much. I can't remember Anakin's lightsaber style, but you're right. That's right. Like, that's how
just heavy and slow. Like heavy and slow. What are you trying to tell me by creating that lightsaber style?
Yeah.
Why are you trying to basically allude to the idea that the High Republic era was where this sort of like longer saber, this Claymore style saber, and like the heavier sort of like the heavier blows and sort of that saber technique comes from. The only other person I see who kind of does that is Darth Vader. He is someone who just kind of like just does big windups and just heaves that saber around.
I mean, am I wrong when I say Kylo Ren? Right, like
no, I think
like he does kind of use that sort of Claymore style, and it's like he uses the edges there, and it's like. The most we see him wield it, I guess, is on Mustafar in Rise of Skywalker, but
which is very very much heavy.
I mean, he's very swift fighting the Praetorian Guards, and then I think fighting Luke. It's a very swift.
But with that crossguard saber, I think the most the most we see him there.
Yeah, just in crossguard only, I think is just the resemblance there.
It could
I for me, heavy, slow, sweeping moves. That's like a Vader.
It's very Vader.
Anakin in Revenge of the Sith. Like he's adapted that style.
And it's like, is the game trying to do that lore injection of like the kind of heavy, slow style comes from like the High Republic?
Sooner or later, I think we need a game where we can pick one of the 7 styles, or like where we get them all. Like maybe a Ghost of Tsushima, but like you can pick which styles you want to use, or in advance. And so have you guys been respecking a lot? So in this game, I've discovered, I haven't done it yet because I'm afraid of it. But I'll the respec button, you can at any time just respec all of your things. So
I've done it 3 or 4 times already
to finish the game.
And I don't know if you guys have done the sort of time trial, like
yes.
sort of horde mode
I've done-
stuff that
I've
they
done
throw
two
at
of
you?
Is that like the tears?
tears.
The tears.
Okay.
The tears or the tear. Yeah, I've done a few
Yeah.
of those. Yeah, I got the one that was
I
like
think when they throw you
150.
in
150
they
bit
put you in
B1
new
droids.
stances.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was-
yeah, you 150 B1 droids.
That was
insane.
so
Yeah.
fun. And I don't know if I just had it equipped or if they make you do it, but you do it with dual wield, and you're just like a hot knife through butter.
It's so much fun. I was like, I wasn't
it took
even
me
stressed
like
by it.
like I almost got it on the first time, and then it ended up taking me
close.
like 5 times to do it. But I loved it.
I love it too. I didn't even get stressed until I got like over 110, and then I'm like, oh no! Look what I was like. I was having so much fun, and then suddenly I'm like, oh, this is stressful
I think
now.
I
was like,
my first one was like 132, and then it was like 111,
same.
and then it was 136, and then it was like
Yeah,
112.
man, I aced that first try.
You get first try?
First try.
Good for you.
Nice. Yeah.
Just
well done.
smashed through droids. Just like,
yeah.
oh, you have to. When they're landing, you got to get them when they're landing. They don't even attack for the first couple seconds.
But Ben, before we get to what's your loadout? Loadout for the stances.
I'm still early days, so everything is very experimental, and so I've spec'd out to be very wide and dispersed, and I'm not really strong in anything.
Same.
You know, I have amped up more my survival skills, like we talked about last week. I'm like,
Same.
I'm just gonna push force powers and survival powers, and then like as I learn skills and use them, I'll develop those. But now it's like I'm there's so many places to put skill points that it's like I'm not really strong at anything. So, that's it. But so pretty much for every battle and every mission, I change it. Right.
That's
and
smart.
I mean, I just really unlocked the crossguard saber, so I'm using that and the double bladed because I don't know, the double bladed is really well balanced. I know it's supposed to be like the defense first mode. Which it's great at, but also for an attacking, like jumping at people, the spinning, and then it's called like the infinite pursuit or something, where you have like a 5 stage combo, and you do the like upside down attack and all that. Like you
when he spun upside down, I was like, game over. I'm playing.
Yeah,
this is the stage.
serious damage.
It's just but it's a good stance, especially wait till you get to the droidekas, and then you're like, and then you definitely want that double lightsaber. But like the thing, I'm very similar, Ben. Like I have not loaded out any of my lightsaber stances. I'm only survival and force right now. I'm gonna build those. My plan is to build all of those out, and then I'll start filling out my. And it seems to be working really well for me because like now my force push is like all the way up, and boy, that's it. Because now every time I get like a room of like all these like high like OP whatever, I just like force push them in the wall, walk over, just cut them to shreds, jump back, force push them in the wall, come to shreds. Like it's kind of amazing.
How much fun is it to force pull people and they react to the
They're
pulling?
like,
Yeah.
But one time I went over, I like kited at an edge, or I stood at like a weird jagged outcropping, and I basically pulled someone off a ledge, but they were like doing the whole thing where they were like clambering up trying to stand up, and I was like pulling them off the ledge, and they just I was like, this is like I'll go back and play this game just to like pull people off ledges.
Have you seen online? I can't do it yet, but have you seen someone do the helicopter kill? Where basically you can throw your lightsaber spinning, like hold it spinning, and hold someone over the lightsaber and drop them onto the lightsaber. The animation doesn't.
I'm not that maniacal.
The animation doesn't do anything, but I watched that and I'm like, this is so me playing it. I'm like, I can't do that. That just seems way too dark.
I know. I mean, if you want to talk about clouded Jedi, I mean, I think Cal kind of fits there. Like he kills more people than any. Jedi
many
ever.
people.
Wait. Guys, can we talk about the turn? I never thought there could be a faster. All right, we're getting into real spoiler territory here.
Okay.
Is it?
I never thought
Don't
someone
spoil
could
me.
turn faster than Anakin Skywalker.
Oh, are you talking about Dagan Gera?
Yeah.
Oh, that. Yeah, that was.
I have never seen a more hyper compressed sort of like.
No, but I
must bleed crystal and turn than
I don't
in
think
this game.
I don't
was
think
insane.
that was a turn. I feel like he was turned before he went into
Yeah, I
cryo
agree.
sleep.
No,
and
I
he
agree
woke
with you.
up.
I agree. I'm just saying, like, just to visualize it that way in such a quick way. I was like,
it was very abrupt
scene
from
needs
our
to be a little
perspective. Where I'm like, wait, what's happening now? I mean, it's fun to see a lightsaber getting bled in, like not quote unquote live action, but
pretty close to it,
live action. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so that was great. I mean, I love the High Republic stuff that we've got. I love that was the turn there because I was like, oh, we're going to have another ally. And it's like, nope. And like you felt it as soon as you walked in that room. You're like, I don't know how I feel about this dude. And like you see his arm missing and like.
Yeah. So I do want to talk about that as well. I just don't like the history of Star Wars where it's like there's characters like the ableist sort of like issues with Star Wars.
Kind of weirded out by it. Yeah.
Like the guy has one arm, and then I immediately like double blade my lightsaber or like pull out blaster and lightsaber, and it's like this weird sort of like it feels like it just feels like ableist in a weird way. Just kind of weird. I didn't like that.
I had the exact same reaction because I was doing the thing where I do, which is I just analyze things from a story, not storytelling, but like, but like, why are we doing this? And I'm like, are they doing this because you, from a story perspective, you have to be able to win this first battle against him? And so is it just like they're doing this because the only way you win the first battle against him is they make him having one less arm, and then it feels ableist, right? Like it just felt weird. It felt really weird to me.
It was just weird, and I was just like, okay. And then now I'm just like, I just got my pistol and blaster form, so now I'm like wielding two weapons against this one. It just felt like no honor. I was just like, what is going on right now? I want to have some honor fighting a Jedi who's turned or whatever, and it felt weird.
Yeah, and remember when you fight, what's the name of the Dark Jedi from the first one that you encounter on Dathomir? Do you remember?
You mean like the main villain?
Like
no, it's like
Malicos.
It's like Mavrin or something.
Malicus. Yeah, Malicrin. Like okay, so a very similar thing, right? Where you encounter this. Oh no, it's a Dark Jedi. Yeah. That fight, I got my butt handed to me 25 times. I think before I won that fight. Like that was one of those ones, which I hated when I was in it. But the more I watch, I'm like, well, that's the way it should be. I'm Cal Kestis. I'm fighting a Dark Jedi. This should be difficult. I encountered this person, and granted, I haven't gotten there. I'm sure, as Grit said, you have not encountered additional boss fights. I know it will get hard again, but it felt weird to me that I am, as Cal Kestis, I guess, again, you've gone through the whole journey of Jedi Fallen Order, so you are a more powerful Jedi, but it felt weird to me that I just
I know. I was like, why didn't I just finish him? Because I was like, I just ended that dude. Like,
yeah, it was like no challenge. Like I don't even think I used a single stem.
I think that was weird, just the ease of that first boss fight. But again,
I'm sure it gets more.
There's difficult. More with that character, and
so
I'm sure.
I mean, you were talking about difficulty, and Grant. You know, you had mentioned like it gets really hard, and Grant just like he just does this. This is like his steez. Like he just sprints through the story mode, and I really feel like this is a game where you need to grind and like build up your characters to properly progress through. But Grant made it hats off to him. But I don't know. I just feel like you have to sort of, I don't know. I've still been very challenged. I'm on Jedi Knight. I'm at the normal like thing.
Without spoiling anything, there is a boss battle that doesn't require any grinding at all. Like you never have had to grind at all. It's a completely offshoot boss battle that sort of like gives you a set skill system and all this sort of stuff that like has nothing to do with grinding, and even that was super hard. So it's like there's no way you could have done any
that
grinding
would help
to
you
fight that boss. It's kind of an offshoot thing that happens, and so no matter what you're going to encounter, the high difficulty of some of these boss fights, and I feel like but the game's also done some cool features where it allows you to slow down fights, combat sequences, things like that. I had to do that once.
Yeah. Have you seen so we're talking about like things you can affect or change in the settings. Have you seen the arachnophobia setting?
Yeah, I did see that.
I laughed at that. I thought, which I'm like, great.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing any spiders, but
I have encountered where that would be useful. Or I guess there's some rock things that are kind of arachnids that I'm like, is that what we're talking about?
I don't know. But yeah, the point that I was trying to make, and then I drifted off, was that like,
me too.
It's very hard. This is a very hard game. So the first rift, time rift I ran into was on Jedha. I don't know. Did you guys do that one? It's to the left.
I did one on Jedha.
It's like if you travel to the left after you leave the mantis.
Maybe. What's the challenge?
It's so it's like you against like, I don't know, like a B1, like two B1s, a super battle droid, and then three.
Yeah,
dude, that was as hard as anything I did on Give Me God of War.
I haven't done
Figures
that.
with the shock staffs.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
I'm
So you have
done with
three
that.
people
I haven't done
just
that.
like
I haven't done
launching
that one
missiles
yet.
at your face while like three people are running at you with staffs with undefeatable like moves. That was as hard as anything I did on Give Me God of War level God of War. Ragnarok. It was so hard.
I haven't done that one, but I encountered a similar version of that in the real game itself, and that's when I learned the ability. That's when I learned the advantage of my boosted up force push.
Okay.
Which knocks them all
so
down.
it knocks them down.
And so I think if I were to do that now with that, I could probably get through it, but I haven't done it. So I'll have to go back and find it and do it because I definitely haven't done that one. But that one where I died like 4 or 5 times in the real world before I figured out, I'm like, oh, this is the way I do this.
Yeah, it was super, man. It was like,
rough.
It was really, I was like, this is as hard as anything I did on the hardest level of God of War, on the middle level of this game. Which is great that's what they're striving for. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just still, there's so many puzzles. There's so many things that I want to just do, but I can't. I'm like, I'm getting the sense that I need to like progress through.
You do. Yeah. Cause I got one ability that now will allow me to go back and like, I'll just say it, like you get to those, like the barriers, like the green barriers you can't get through. You get a force ability that gets you through them. And like that's when I'm like, all right. And then there's one more that I know I need to be able to like actually move things, like actually like grip things and move them. And that I'm just waiting until I get that. And once I get that, I'll go back.
I'm not there yet. I need to just keep moving on it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I got to. I got frustrated similarly
because it's like there's a mountain pass which I guess you haven't done yet, Adam.
No, I think I got is it one of the rumors?
There is a rumor up there. Yeah.
I think I got
there's
that
two.
rumor up there,
there's a rumor up there, and
then
there's another fork. It's like near Scuba Steve or Scuba Stev. Sorry.
Right, which I still haven't met.
Yeah, he's easy to miss. He's small. But yeah, and it was just like it was a green barrier, but like there were 2 stormtroopers on the other side of the barrier. And I was just like, I don't know. I'm like, oh man, like really, you're gonna stunt me here? Like there's another place I can't go.
Oh,
and I walked up to
see. I'm going to argue that just driving right through the story is almost the best approach for this game because, there's so much in those open worlds that I feel like you can access once you get a few of the things. There's one traversal mechanic and 2 BD mechanics that I think can get you places that you can't get to.
Yeah, and I'm like wasting so much time trying to go places I can't get to. I'm thinking maybe you're right. Like maybe I should just progress and get.
If you get those 3 things, you don't have to progress through like the last chunk. I guess the final chapters you can off on. It's just once you get those 3 things, you're like, I can go back and every corner. I can sweep every corner at that point.
Yeah,
I could tell that I need those 3 mechanics. I have 1 out of 3 so far, and I just knew that I was gonna get frustrated because I'm like scouring these areas, and then I'm gonna have to go back and re-scour them once I get these abilities, and I'm gonna get real frustrated. And I'm like, if I want to platinum this thing, I just need to just do the scouring.
Well, it's the thing, but they
keep
teasing you. So I like walked up to the green barrier with these 2 stormtroopers, and they're like, talk to the stormtroopers. I'm like, okay, and they're like talking, poodoo, but then like it opens up the availability to mind trick one of them. And so I mind trick him, and he pulls down the first green barrier, and I like wipe the guys out, and I'm like, great. And I'm like, but there's a second green barrier, and I can't get by that right next to it. And I was like, oh my gosh, so it's like stuff like that makes me believe like, oh, there's just stuff I'm not being rigorous enough about. So I mean, listen, hats off to them because I appreciate that. Like this is the mystery box we're opening as we do things, but I just can't help myself. I'm having so much fun. Let's talk about the Pyloon Saloon. Wait, what is it?
Who? Is it
Pyloon Saloon? Is that what it is?
Oh, Pyloon Saloon. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Grizz's bar.
Oh, man. So
I just want to hang out there all the time.
So this is like all the other passive sort of evolutions that you can do in this game is sort of embodied by this place, and I love it. I knew it was like, it's like an awful bar that no one goes to when you get there, and I'm like, oh no, we can make it like hype, and that does happen pretty soon. But then there's other ways to evolve it, and you talk to more people. That bounty hunter with or not bounty hunter, but that Twi'lek with
Cage.
Dave Filoni's hat. Cage, yeah. So she started talking to me more. I've been like opening in that relationship. Okay, all right, Adam. All right, I see by the look on your face. There's something going on there.
Yep, that becomes a fun mechanic.
All right, so all that, and but yeah, just meeting people, playing music. As soon as obviously you guys know me, so I'm like, I love the music group that's just like people that are sampling sounds in the wild to like make music. I'm like, yep, they're my people. So that's all happened. I have Scuba Stev, which you guys I guess haven't met yet.
Scuba
but
Stev,
Scuba Stev is like the highlight of my game right now. So like, you guys got to find Scuba Stev.
All right. I'm gonna once I get through whatever I am right now, I'm gonna go back and that's my
when
next
I found
mission, is to
Scuba
get him.
Stev, I was like, is there an NPC to talk to here?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, here he is.
Right.
Yeah, no, someone was talking to me and I couldn't find him.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, who is this?
Just look for the weird boat. There's a weird boat, and there's actually a creature on the boat, but he's just small.
Okay.
So you'll know. But
Got
like, it's clearly a weird boat that looks out of place, and then like but yeah,
Grease
and that
is so great in this game.
Yeah.
Loving Grease.
Keep it greasy.
Yeah.
Keep it greasy, baby.
Yeah.
Love that dude.
He's always telling me to sit down, though. It's very Mace Windu of him. He's like, take a seat. I'm like, all right.
Okay. Yeah, that's dope. Also, Holo Tactics. Adam, have you started playing Holo Tactics yet?
Oh, I haven't.
A little bit, yeah. I haven't done much of it because I know once I start doing it, I will really start. So
the thing
is,
it's limited by how many people you can beat, and you need to meet the characters before you can beat them.
Right.
So I've only met 4 characters so far, and I think there's like 9 or 10.
All right, so I'll jump into it. It's not that big.
Now I'm understanding since Horizon Forbidden West, it was like pretty much the same mechanic, and I imagine it as the same as a lot of games. So it's like the more characters you destroy, the more characters you have at your disposal, and you can use them, and it's a point system, and you just like points versus points, and they carry over, and there's several rounds. And usually the mini games, I'm like, it's just a chore, and actually in Horizon Forbidden West, it was kind of a chore. But I had to do it to platinum
I hate that.
And I did. But this one, I'm kind of obsessed with.
Star Wars themed.
Yeah, because I'm just like, it's just like, all right, what am I putting? Like these are your characters versus my characters, and they all have values, and and I've figured it out. I think. But
nice.
And then they unlock. They tell you what they unlock. It's just like if you beat this person, you get this color palette or this jacket or this like facial hair thing or whatever. And
Tom Selleck.
It's the Tom Selleck. Oh man, the Selleck. Oh, Selleck time.
I still have not. I keep collecting all these outfits, and I'm still just doing Luke's medal ceremony.
Guys,
garb.
all I want to do is rock the
I
Dash Rendar gear and like pistol and blaster and lightsaber, and just like go to.
I do love that you get all the blaster mods now too.
Yeah, I just switched back to the DL44.
Did you guys have all that because you pre-ordered and everything? You had to have a deal. Oh wow, you went right to DL44 like right away.
I didn't at first. Yeah, I went to like sort of like
I did
because I love being in canon, and like there's actually I think there's a lot of cooler outfits. Actually, the Spec Ops like outfit is cool because you get a cape, and the capes are all different colors. And you can it's a cool mechanic. You look pretty awesome with that. But I've been doing a pretty minimalistic thing, just like shirt, pants, and like maybe a bandolier or something that I bought at what's her name's place. But I just unlocked a duelist shirt that I'm looking forward to doing. But
I think canonic. I won't say it as a spoiler.
Okay.
Never mind.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just back away from that.
Shut your meowth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyways, there's a lot of fun stuff in there. As for that goes, and like the lightsaber stuff. I told you I like sub the lightsaber subreddit on Reddit, and like those guys are serious, man. They are serious. But I've been really like working on my lightsaber.
Is it healthy to be serious about lightsaber?
No, it's weird. It's totally weird, and it's maybe be like gone from like. Wouldn't it be cool to own these lightsabers to be like, I don't think I need this in my life. Like that's sort of what that's taken me, but I still like appreciate.
Too much.
I appreciate their obsession.
So are we all on Jeddah at this point? Jedda's happened.
Yeah.
So Marin
exists.
So we've all done the supernatural sequences.
Some,
like that, right?
but I'll remind you, Grant. I think so. You go to Jeddah, you go back to Kobo, then you go back to Jeddah again, and I don't think you've gone back to Jeddah again.
I have not gone back to Jeddah yet.
So that's where the disconnect's happening. And
okay, it's good to know that's happening because I wanted to do that anyways because I knew I missed a bunch of stuff because of the sandstorm.
Yeah, you can do more, there's more plot stuff, and you get a lot more Marin once you go back to there again. So
oh my gosh, I want to say so many appropriate things. So the first time I went to Jeddah, I rocked the Obi-Wan outfit. I went full Obi-Wan.
Well done.
And it was so appropriate there. It just looked right on that planet.
Yeah, I can tell you where I'm at right now is I made Cal Kestis look exactly like Toshiro Mifune, and I basically used just a single and double blade. And,
that's good for you, buddy.
And I'm just loving it. Like I just don't need any other stances. I don't need anything else. It's so good. Yeah. Like all I'll say is like when you go single blade and you start unlocking the aerial sort of skills of like jumping around and slashing in the air and stuff, that is so good. Just during boss fights, like survivability, your survivability goes up by like 100% if you can dash around in the air and just cut the chop from aerial chops.
Yeah, once I fill out my survival in forest, I think I'm just gonna fill out the single bleed.
It's so good. You can do like a big like triangle. You can do a heavy smash from like the air, which is like super useful.
I mean, I guess it's all a matter of preference, right? I love the double blade where you can just like jump and do a spin jump forward. It's just like, and you're just like a wood chipper. You just like go through people and then.
Does that require force? I feel like it doesn't.
I don't think it does. No, it's like
you just
it's like L1 and square, and you just jump at people, and you could just wreck. Nice. You can do that forever.
Incredible.
Yeah. No. It's a great game.
So Royvis, do you guys know about that guy?
Yeah,
I mean, I've met him once.
Yeah,
Once.
He's working.
He's very shrouded in mystery.
Yeah, exactly. We know he's working with
Dagon,
but that's about it. Yeah. Okay. I feel like it's starting to unlock a little bit of his backstory where I'm at. Like literally, just like half an hour ago or half an hour before I stopped playing. There's a somewhat smaller.
They do something kind of I don't want to spoil anything, but they do something fun, like subversive with that stuff, which is so great. I think you can tell that.
Yeah.
But like,
overall, super pleased with this game and the story. Like, I mean, there can be criticism, whatever, but it's like it's much more open world than the last game. There's much more customizability. I love this passive stuff where it's like the bar's getting better, that you can guard. I love that. Like that stuff.
There's there's like massive story in this game, like story implications. Not like I wouldn't say implications outside of the game, but more of just like major implications to come.
Okay, like there'll be a third in the trilogy.
Like this game basically just spins it right on. Like this game will spin right on its head for you, and you'll be like, "Oh, it's this. This is what's happening," and it's a huge implication. I'll put it that way to not spoil.
Okay,
and it's like once you get there, you're gonna have a judgment on the story. But you're like you guys are very early. If like you're not there yet, it's and it's pretty far down. No, it's actually not pretty far. It must be like almost 3/4 through the story. You kind of get to this major.
Well, I mean, so one major thing happened that we haven't talked about that we've all been through is that we find Seer. I mean, on Jedha we find Seer, and we find that Cordova lives.
Yeah, it's such a weird. I was thinking about like, wait, what was his story again?
Yeah, was that right math wise? Like I thought he was like
he's old. Man's old.
He's old. He looks like he's just been, the Jedi's been good to him. The Jedi sun, the sand.
Yeah, it's been nice. He gets a little bit of vitamin D from the sun, so he's great. In the Force, et cetera, et cetera. But it's great, and we find out that this is Seer's new mission, right? She's helping the hidden path.
Right.
And this is the thing that we know, cool. And this is the connection, which we sort of one of our million guesses connects this story to Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And she's working with the anchorites too, which I think were previously established.
Yes, you can see anchorites in Rogue
One?
One. I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
Rogue One. They're
so that's cool. It fleshes out them. They're not the cult of the central isopter, which is a bummer because they're my favorite.
who are mentioned like immediately in this game. I feel like when you get to Jedi.
Wait, did they mention the cult of the?
Stay away from the cult of the center isopter. No, it's just like someone just offhandedly.
I haven't seen that yet, but that's amazing.
It's an offhanded mention. It's not even like
no, but still,
I'll take it. I'll take it, dude. Anyone talking about the cult of the central isopter?
I was like, no way they're being mentioned right now. I was so happy. It just rewarded us as comic fans. Like we've been reading the comics, we've been loving. Especially that storyline, I think, was big for us on the show.
Guys, this is our cosplay that we need to work on. Like, forget all the cosplay.
Oh yeah, they're the cult of the center.
Let's go to we are the cult of the central isopter, and that's how we're going to arrive at every single.
Look out, San Diego.
Yeah, San Diego, here we come. That's what I want to do. Is like that cult.
Just in the 95-degree heat. Just
I don't care. I'll be naked underneath. I'll put an ice pack in my jock strap. I don't care. Let's do it. Let's do it because they are the coolest rando deep dive. I think they just go there to watch the end of the world.
Disasters,
so it's kind of hilarious wherever you go. It's oh no, we're just here to watch the world end. Don't mind us.
So we've all experienced the mounted gameplay.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's some mounted gameplay in Jedi. I don't know if you've done that yet.
That was really fun.
That was cool.
Nice
that was fun.
Sequence. The smell gills.
It felt a little bit a little unpolished.
The mounted stuff's
the way it connected
clunky,
with the
I think. It's fine.
But also parasailing on weird giant bats and stuff was super fun and
that was super fun. I loved that. And I want to... So, all right. We've been pretty positive on the game. Or can we get to nitpicks at this point? Can we get to something else? I mean,
sure,
I don't know.
Sure, go for it.
All right, for me, it's so puzzle heavy that I had to conquer the puzzles only because I felt like I was inundated with puzzles. And I was like, every jump puzzle must be conquered now. And so that's been my driving sort of modus operandi.
I see where you're coming from because occasionally I'm on this linear path and I go into this room and I'm like, well, this is 15 minutes of my time now.
Yeah.
It's a lot of playtime, and I'm just waiting for the hubs and the Pyloon saloons and those environments. I kind of just wanted more of those. And then I think when Fallen Order came out, we reviewed it. I think I said something I wished this game had a little bit of some stealth mechanics. Obi-Wan on Dayu, in that series, he's focused on sort of hiding, his identity, keeping out of, the spotlight. I was just like, why isn't Cal doing a little bit of that?
Yeah, nothing here.
Blending into and doing larger sort of player hubs or social hubs where you have NPCs and having stealth mechanics sort of for those limited spaces, for those small spaces. And then I was also thinking the only reason I make that argument is because I don't know where else you do that mechanic. Well, the only place that makes sense is almost game post Order 66 where it's Jedi in hiding. It's almost it doesn't make sense.
No, it starts.
This is where you put the Hitman Assassin's Creed stealth mechanic. Yeah. You put the Jedi sort of able to hide themselves in environments and things like that here.
Yeah, we talked a bit about it last week, I think, and I'll just hit it again as occasionally your mind starts thinking about the larger Star Wars galaxy and it starts to bend a little bit because I'm like, so there's this other Jedi who mowed down 1,000 stormtroopers and it's not
and Kanan, Ezra, and Hera don't know about that.
Right, and that the Empire seems more concerned with these couple of Jedi who have killed a couple of stormtroopers versus this guy over here who's just destroying everyone. Why isn't every aspect of the Empire out to get Cal Kestis?
Yeah, well, I think. I mean, we're still talking 9 BBY, right? And Obi-Wan Kenobi is sort of disappeared again. So there's kind of nothing for about 4 years until Rebels starts. And what we didn't mention that coincides with this is Han Solo. So Han Solo is happening right before this as well. So I don't know. Grant, you've obviously gone through it, but That's a person.
Yeah,
that's going
there is a shadow eating at the edges of Cal Kestis's story. So we'll see. Like from after beating the story here, I can kind of tell you guys that like without spoiling the game, it's just kind of like there are going to be disruptions in terms of getting that story out there. You know what I mean? Like I just
That's
don't.
kind of what I figured they were going for.
They're covering their bases when it comes to that, and there's going to be a third game, right? And so they'll probably cover their bases.
So you're feeling pretty confident there'll be a third game.
When does Star Wars not operate in trilogies? Like I feel like that's the safest bet.
I mean, when
usually.
the first one or two doesn't pay off, I think. But
true.
Usually when the first one doesn't pay off, you know.
Right, but these seem to be paying off, and the reviews on this thing, man, and I think the sales are
stellar. People love this game.
Yeah, so
that's why I almost want to throw in just a few gripes because I feel like I love the game.
But like make it better for the third one. Yeah.
Here's
some
the thing.
larger social hubs, some simple stealth mechanics, and then the jump puzzles are extraordinary. They're genius.
Yeah, I love the puzzles
the
in this.
Design and the craft and the level of just jump puzzle design and mechanic design and gameplay design and the loop of just wall running. Also, so good that like I love it, but I just like I almost wish they were incredibly intense, incredibly hard, but just in shorter, concentrated doses instead of these long form. I'm going to encircle a mountain until I get to its peak, sort of.
Yeah, there are some jump puzzles.
That is my only gripe. It's like
ridiculously long. But I'll say the one puzzle mechanic that I have no tolerance for. I'll just tell you right now. And Ben, I don't know if you encountered that. Have you encountered the thing where you can spray something, like use a spray?
No.
Okay, I won't say anymore. Can't stand it.
Wait. Oh yeah. Oh, so you're like the miasma stuff? Adam?
Yeah, like the BD spray. They can like spray stuff with BD. That like anyway. You'll get to it, Ben. Hate it. Can't stand it. Don't want it.
Those puzzles aren't even fun.
Nope.
Those puzzles are not fun.
I'm like, why is this? Why is this?
I hate.
I know.
That guy.
I'm like, it just.
Do not worry, listener. I don't want to.
No, I love this.
Because so far, I just want to say the puzzles.
That puzzle wasn't
the puzzle
fun.
levels.
I don't want to do that puzzle in the next game. That's all I'm trying to highlight.
I will say that the amount I've encountered it is not frustrating. Does that make sense? Like I think they know it's not the strongest mechanic, so they don't go back to it too much.
That one just felt like a lot of like, let me just walk around on the ground and unlock like the way.
Yes,
and I was like, and sort of spray the way.
Do you like connecting point A to point B over long distances and making sure there's not a broken chain with a thing that doesn't quite work the way you're supposed to work? Then you'll love this game.
Alone, I would argue just diving into the story head first, just given like getting that out of the way felt so good. Just all that.
But again, I want to say like this is to me a 9.5 out of 10. Like I love this game. This
game's stellar.
So good.
The game's incredible.
We're just hitting a couple of things that didn't work for us.
Okay, I think why don't we wrap it up, guys? Because I think we're at about 2.5 hours. So this is long, and I don't want to frighten anyone by the runtime of this podcast. Though if we keep podcasting, everyone will see us because we
and your vacation over the weekend.
I know.
Like this is
How's your Cinco de Mayo going?
Yeah, that's what we did.
This is what we did for 2.5 hours. It was fun and I love it. And please, I can't wait to rewatch Visions season 2. You know, Jenny's gonna want to see it, and it's gonna be fun to watch that again. I still have to watch the end of Mandalorian with her too, which I can't wait for. But
nice.
This has been a blast. Next week we've got a whole bunch of new issues to talk about that we haven't decided yet, but they're going to be important.
Important issues?
Well, not even issues, really, actually. Hopefully, I mean, we've been heavy on philosophical debate.
Are there important issues in a fictional galaxy?
I mean, also,
to me, they're important.
Do you want to do a real quick decision round on air? So if our viewers are interested, we have a couple of routes we could go. We're backed up on High Republic. In fact, now there are 3 novels out in the High Republic.
Oh my gosh.
There are.
3.
It's all part of the second wave. No, part second, whatever.
Phase 2.
There's phase 2. There's Cataclysm, Quest for Planet X, and Path of Vengeance, which are all like the novel, the junior, and the YA.
Yeah.
So we could do those 3. We also have lots of comic book series we could go off. We have Dr. Aphra, a couple runs of Star Wars, Han Solo, Chewbacca, Bounty Hunters, Hidden Empire, Ewok. That's those.
Hidden Empire is wrapped up. I feel like we should cover
that. We should probably do that sooner rather than later. Do you want to do some comics next week? Give ourselves 2 weeks to read all the High Republic.
Novels? Okay.
I like that. That's a good idea.
All right. So why don't we do Hidden Empire, Why would you do Hidden Empire, Dr. Aphra? Dr. Aphra? Do you want to do those two? Is that enough?
That fits because
let's catch up.
Aphra's a long run too. It's 22 to 30, so it's a long series.
Episodes,
and then
nice.
and then Hidden Empire is 1 through 5. So for listeners, we'll cover Dr. Aphra 22 to 30 and Hidden Empire 1 through 5, and any news that comes out as well.
And I think hot off the press as well. I think there's some Taika Waititi news, so there'll be some fun stuff.
Oh yeah, Taika Waititi had some news. That's right.
Ooh, okay. Sounds sexy. I'm totally in. Sounds good. So that's what we're going to cover next week. Thanks very much for listening to us this week. It's a great time to be a Star Wars fan. Thanks for listening. And, as always, may the Force be with you.
This is Grex Kondak signing off. For the latest breaking news, follow @CoreWorldNews on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you, and good night.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.